Good evening. I see we have a couple more participants. We are just waiting to have quorum. We need one more council member. Looks like we've got one that's going to be logging in with us shortly. There we go. Councilmember Gallagher, can you hear me? Fantastic. We actually have quorum now, so we can get started. Calling this meeting to order. Councilmember from Ward 1.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember from Ward 2. Probably is going to join us a little later. Councilmember from Ward 3.
Present.
Thank you, Councilmember Briner. Councilmember from Ward 4.
Present.
Thank you, Councilmember Gallagher. Councilmember from Ward 5 and 6 did tell us they were running a few minutes late, so we will acknowledge them when they get here. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we can go ahead and get started. We have, Mr. Galloway, did you have introductions you wanted to make?
Yeah, so Mayor, first presentation of the evening. First and foremost, good evening, Mayor and Council in the town of Cheverly. First presentation that we'll have this evening will be that of the Office of Human Rights. They're going to present for approximately 10 minutes, and then we will be able to ask them questions based off of their presentation. So is there someone from the audience from the Office of Human Rights? Thank you. So there will be a buzzer that goes off within 10 minutes, and then just to keep us on task this evening. So without further ado, thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, user error, very sorry. Thank you everybody for having me, for making time for this session. We were very lucky to meet with the town administrator, some town staff a few weeks ago and had a very productive conversation, and happy to be here with all of you. My name is Kyla Hannington. I'm the Public Outreach and Engagement Division Chief with the Prince George's County Office of Human Rights. And what we're doing is we're going out to all municipalities to talk about the work that we do. And just very quickly, I want to explain why we're doing that for everybody, for all of you, but also for the residents who are watching. We recognize we can't reach all the people in the county, but we can reach the people who reach the people. And we know that people who are elected officials in towns and residents who come to these meetings are people who are out in their communities hearing constituent concerns. And we just want everyone to know what we do. We've been around for a long time. So I'll just take a few minutes and sort of overview what the Office of Human Rights does in Prince George's County. We were founded in 1972. We were originally known as the Human Relations.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So sorry to interrupt. It sounds a little muffled here for the folks that are online. Council member, okay. Let's see how that is.
How's that? Okay. Is that better?
It's a lot better.
That's a lot better.
It's because of my original user error. I'm so sorry. Okay. So we were originally founded in 1972 as the Human Relations Commission. So for those people who are familiar with that term, we're the same office. We just have a new name as of about 3 years ago that better reflects for contemporary residents what that is, because what our work is. So we have 4 divisions. The main division, what we started doing in 1972 was investigating complaints of civil rights discrimination. And so that's things like age, race, national origin, faith, ability and disability, color, familial status, marital status, all of those what we call protected classes. And we investigate those in the areas of employment, which is where most people think of civil rights discrimination occurring, but also in housing. If you've had a housing denial, if you think for one of those protected reasons, we're the people that you call. Public accommodations, that's things like you go to a business, you're treated a certain kind of way, it feels unfair, we're the people that you call. Also to do with education, law enforcement, as well as commercial and residential real estate. So really just making people sure that people know, like, if you feel like you've been discriminated against in Prince George's County for one of those reasons, please give our office a call. The second thing that we do in 2013, the County Council passed a law standing up the Prince George's County Human Trafficking Task Force. That's run through our office. Our executive director is automatically the task force chair, and we have a human trafficking division, and that division manager is the task force administrator. And really what this means is we work to combat human trafficking all around the region. The Human Trafficking Task Force has about 240 different member agencies now, from police to direct service providers to faith communities, social workers, and our office is tasked with coordinating all of that service, also making sure the public is aware about human trafficking awareness, what are the signs, how do you prevent it, and things like that. So that's one of the things we do, is we also will come out to municipalities or to groups and present on human trafficking, do human trafficking awareness training. In 2017, County Council passed the Language Access for Public Services Act, which means that, in essence, this is it distilled, all residents, all people can access county government, big C, big G, as in the county government structure, county government services in the language of their preference. And we really want residents to know this, no matter what language you speak or what language you would like to be served in, the county government is ready to meet you in that language. Our office is tasked with making sure that all employees are aware of their responsibilities, they're capable of meeting that need. But also, if one of your residents goes out and they're not served in the language that they need, they're not getting the care, or they're not being received that way, call our office. We'll also investigate that, try to make sure that whatever agency is not meeting that need is brought up to speed. And then lastly, we have a public outreach and engagement division. And really the way to look at that is if you think about investigations happening after discrimination has already occurred. With our public outreach and engagement, we're trying to end discrimination before it begins. So we do a lot of community conversations, we do interfaith conversations, we've done panel discussions, we've worked with municipalities and had multicultural parties that we try to support. And so really anything that brings people together in conversation, having difficult conversations. As I tell people, I've never changed anyone's mind by yelling at them. So how can we get people working together to have, maybe people who have diverse viewpoints, diverse faiths, diverse backgrounds, being able to engage with each other in positive ways. And that's what we do. And I just really wanted to make sure everybody knew, and that I got to talk to council people, and again, residents, all of you listening, please keep us in mind, and we're always happy to answer any questions or try to get people the services that they need if we're not the right place.
All right, thank you so much for that. Councilmember Gallagher.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. Please forgive me. When you introduced yourself and you said the name of your office and what you were doing. Hi, this is Joe Gallagher, by the way, Ward 4. I'm zooming in virtually. I think we were still having a little bit of a technical issue. But I noticed they resolved it. So if you wouldn't mind sort of repeating that. And I think for some reason, when it's slower, we're able to pick it up here, out here in the virtual landscape. But I'm really, really grateful that you came and that you're talking with us. So if you could please just introduce yourself again, say your office and just how we get a hold of you, that would be wonderful. I'm just so happy you're here.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Kyla Hannington, and I'm with the Prince George's County Office of Human Rights. By way of introduction, I did say that we were previously known as the Human Relations Commission, which I'm just offering again because some people are more familiar with that name. People are welcome to phone our office. I've given brochures to the city before. I can bring more if we need more, but our phone number is 301-883-6170. We also have a website that we welcome people to check out, which is civil rights, all one word. So CIVILRIGHTS mypgc.us. And then lastly, you can email us if you'd like to at ohrstaff, all one word, all squished together, at co.pg.md.us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your being here. You just provide such a valuable service, especially at this time when there's a lot of fear and uncertainty and worry. So I'm really, the fact that you're here is a wonderful thing. Please express, please convey to your colleagues my gratitude and my constituents' gratitude as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I would echo the same sentiment. Thank you all for coming. Many of my constituents are aware that I've had way more jobs than I probably needed to have. So one of them was Civil Rights Program Manager for the federal government. So this is certainly my wheelhouse. But one of the things that I did not do was this public outreach and engagement piece. So I've got just a quick question about that. I'm curious because there's been a couple of entities in Prince George's County that have made me furrow my eyebrow in terms of how their membership works or who they serve. But I myself have not personally experienced discrimination at those places of business. For an entity like that, is that something that we could say, hey, would you all be willing to do the public outreach and engagement with that business? It just seems like they don't serve X, Y, and Z.
So that is a great question. I will say, as it relates to investigations, if the person who's the recipient of that discrimination is the person who would need to make a complaint in our office. In terms of targeting a business and saying, like, without a formal investigation, like maybe you just called me and said, hey, such and such a business, I'm hearing bad reports. So that is not something that we would typically do, where we would just show up and say, we need to educate you. And part of that is because there's pretty significant evidence that people who are mandated or forced into like a kind of training are sometimes less likely to receive it in a good way. That said, yeah, I'm trying to think of how to say that. But what we can do is things like, working with the community, again, to maybe provide, we do know your rights and know your responsibilities training. So we would not mandate a business to attend that unless it had come through the investigation circuit. But a municipality, for instance, may want to say, hey, we're going to do this for business owners. We welcome all businesses to come. And then our office would do this, like, what does it mean to, how do we avoid discrimination in the workplace? Like, one example that I'll use as it relates to accidental discrimination is that Prince George's County has a law that, again, very generally, because there are some exceptions, but generally prohibits asking about a criminal record check until after the first interview. And that is, so what happens is, especially maybe you have a national entity where they might not know the details of that Prince George's County law, they may accidentally discriminate against somebody because they ask about criminal record history in their generic application. So by doing a presentation to businesses in general, we can really come at it as like, we're just trying to prevent accidental discrimination. We're not here to call anybody a bad guy. Here's what the law is in Prince George's County. Here's how you can work with your employees. So I think we would try to approach it in a general way, but that does still mean the business would need to choose to attend.
Okay, thank you for that, Councilmember Brenner.
I have a couple of things. The first one is that you said your name, and I thought, that name sounds really familiar to me. So I did a quick search in my inbox, and I've gotten lots of emails from you about events for the Office of Human Rights. And I noticed that the very last one that I got last year said, we're starting a new listserv, so if you want to continue getting these emails, sign up using this link. And obviously, I missed that part. So I'll send this link to all of my council members so we can all sign up.
That would be wonderful.
Because it seems like these are great events. I'm not going to ask that question. often when things happen at the county level with county government, or even sometimes with, independent entities, businesses, our first step, and we're very lucky that we have a very responsive county council member living in Cheverly, so we will often reach out to our District 5 or an at-large county council member with the issue. You're giving us really great resources for reaching out directly to you. Is it helpful for us to do that in concert? Is it helpful to just do one first? Is there a certain way? I know sometimes if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, it can get messy.
Well, I think for what we do, we always welcome calls. And again, if someone gets hold of me and you actually have my direct email address, so if I got an email and we were just not the right entity, I would really do my best to try to get you going in the right direction. What we do is, as to the best, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think that what county council offers is the same thing that we would be able to offer.
Right.
So I think if you were to call, let's say, your council member, they may refer you to our office. They might be like, oh, I know who handles this. They also may, so I don't think it hurts to call both. But certainly if it sort of sounds like someone feels like they experience discrimination, or they like a training about human trafficking, or they want to do an event that's like community building and they're trying to work on multicultural things or building positive relationships, I welcome people to call us for sure.
Great. Thank you.
Councilman White?
Yes, number one, thank you again for coming out, displaying. A lot of times residents don't know exactly what their tax dollars are being used for, so we appreciate you coming out. I work in some of the similar space in the county's social services, so I work with a lot of students as well as their family members dealing with a lot of human rights violations. By chance, do you participate in working with DSS by chance? Do you all have a partnership with them?
Our office we collaborate with several different agencies, especially with our human trafficking task force, who I know that they do some collaboration. And we have done some events in concert with DSS targeting teens. But we don't have like a frequent partnership, but we certainly do work with that agency and other agencies.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would love to definitely follow up as well once Councilmember Briner sends the information. Secondly, hopefully if I'm reelected again, I started a Ward 1 event each year where we bring out different key stakeholders, organizations, county organizations as a whole. I would love for you to have a community engagement with that. Table for that, and I'll be reaching out to you regarding that.
Awesome. That
So
would be
our
wonderful.
residents in surrounding areas will know more about that as well.
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Brenner?
I decided I am going to ask that other question. If there are folks who have experienced discrimination, and I'm thinking about some of those protected classes or some of that like language access that you were talking about, and are hesitant to come forward about it, given the current national climate, what would you say to them to encourage them to come forward? Would you maybe not encourage them to come forward and use a different path? We're just in a place of deep mistrust right now, and I'm not sure how to navigate that sometimes.
I think it's great. I think it's a great question, and I think just acknowledging that we're government, and I recognize the fact that just the word government can be super intimidating for people, and I fully recognize that. In Prince George's County, to pick something at random, immigration status is protected as well. So there's no discrimination based on on immigration status that is prohibited in the county. And should somebody, let's say in housing, again, I'm just, feels like that they were denied housing because of something like that. We don't the way it works is you would come to us. That investigation is confidential, and I do want to give a little bit of parameters around what confidentiality means. I'm just going to use Councilmember Wade because it's very hard for me to just talk in random abstractions. Okay, Councilmember Wade is a business, and I have gone to that business, and I feel discriminated against by this business. If I went to the Office of Human Rights, nobody who worked there could say that I had made the complaint or that Councilmember Wade business was also the recipient of that complaint. However, the council member with the business would be given notification that it happened. So I want people to know that our office is not reporting out loudly. Things are confidential up until just the time of public hearing. I will say if the case, if investigation shows that discrimination occurs, there's an opportunity to settle in conciliation with the executive director. If conciliation is not successful, that goes to public hearing. Once we are in public hearing, it is public. But before the stage of public hearing, we're prohibited by law to disclose any information aside from the two parties involved. So I guess in terms of comfort to people, it's recognizing the protections in Prince George's County, recognizing the confidentiality that we offer. We do not ask about anything other than issues related directly to the complaint. So again, I don't want to guess why someone might be afraid to come, because I think there could be multiple reasons, but we just need to know information directly related to the complaint, and we're not doing any other investigation outside of those parameters.
Okay, I have questions about procedurally how things move forward. On the federal level, a complaint has to be made within 45 days of the discrimination, and it looks like it's supposed to be a very timely process. I've done investigations for cases that were 2 and 3 years old, and they were sitting at the EEOC for years. And then the ultimate remedy that anybody could ever get at the time was $300,000. What does this process look like if the person who has brought forth a complaint is found to have a viable complaint and they were past the initial investigation phase and it was down to remedies? What are the remedies that someone can receive?
I will answer that, but I just want to talk about timeframes really quickly for listeners in case they're not sure. In Prince George's County, for employment matters, there's 300 days from the last incident of the perceived discrimination to file a complaint in our office. So it used to be 180 days. That statute has gone on. So I just want to plant that seed for people if they're listening right now and thinking, well, something happened to me 3 months ago, you're still within time frames to give us a call. The way it works, just again, we do an investigation. The investigators are not advocates for the complaining party, and I realize you may know this, Ms. Mayor. I just wanted for those listening to be clear about that function. But what they're doing is they're acting as impartial investigators looking at the facts of the case. At the end of the investigation, they'll either determine that there was no discrimination, and they'll issue that letter of determination, at which point the complaining person can file an appeal with the Human Rights Commission, which is an appointed body of 13 residents appointed by the county executive, and they can adjudicate that. But back to your question, if the investigation shows that discrimination did occur, then at that point, there's a conciliation with the executive director, where both parties are given an opportunity to settle in that confidential period, hopefully come to resolution outside of the public hearing stage. If that is not successful, then the case is certified for public hearing before the Human Rights Commission. Again, that same body of appointed commissioners. There's a 4-person hearing panel, three members and an alternate, and that will be set for public hearing, usually about, I don't want to be quoted, but I'm going to say it but roughly 3 months out from the date of the letter of determination. And the reason I'm saying roughly that is there's certain steps that have to be followed. There's opportunities for different statements and witness lists and exchange of things, but then it will go to public hearing. The commissioners will hear the case. They're a quasi-judicial body, and they are able to make rulings that are enforceable in circuit court. In terms of remedy, that by statute is $200,000 in Prince George's County would be the maximum amount that the commission could order in terms of damages, and they can also order up to a $10,000 fine to the respondent, and they can also order non-monetary remedies. So, for instance, maybe some training of staff or things like that.
Okay, great. One last question, and I see you, Councilmember Gallagher. One of my other many jobs was that I worked for the Office of Human Rights in the District of Columbia government, and they would often co-file
Pardon me?
Co-file.
Right.
So if someone feels like they've experienced discrimination in Prince George's County, can they file with you all as well as file with the EEOC at the same time?
So the answer to that is no. But what you're talking about with co-filing, we have a work share agreement with the EEOC. And so that may be similar to what was happening in DC. And what this would mean is that if a person files with the EEOC, but the discrimination took place in Prince George's County, the EEOC may transfer that case to our office for investigation. And if a case is received in our office, but it meets the federal statute, which again, our Prince George's County has a more restrictive statute than the federal government. We have more protected classes. There's more details about that. But if we received it in our county, we would then share it with the EEOC that this case had been filed, in the sense that we wouldn't, if it fell under the EEOC, the federal statutes as well, so that we don't have two investigations happening at the same time.
Great. Councilmember Gallagher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My next question, hopefully my last, has to do with, you mentioned that you have investigators that don't actually serve as advocates for the complainant. Is there anyone within your office or within the county who sort of does serve as an advocate for the complainant, if it's not the person doing the investigation, but is there anyone just who can sort of, explain to someone with a complaint what the process is, what their choices are, what they can expect at different stages, that sort of thing? I'm just thinking, putting myself in the shoes of someone who would have experienced that sort of discrimination. It could be kind of a scary thing going up to a government, like you said. That's my question.
Thank you. So the investigators, the information that I'm sharing about process is also information that would be shared with a complaining person. It's more that when I say they're not advocates, what I mean is they're not bringing a case on behalf of, or they're not working against this imaginary business over here. They're saying, hey, we've heard something, we're getting information, facts, evidence and witnesses from both sides, and then determining what the facts of the case show. I will say that once discrimination has been shown to have occurred, that letter of determination says that, and the case then gets certified for public hearing before the Human Rights Commission, it's actually the executive director bringing the case at that point. So the complaining person is a party to the case, a witness to the case, but it's actually the executive director versus the respondent. It's not the complaining person versus the respondent once it's been certified to public hearing. So then there's maybe a shift, and I think that may answer kind of what you're talking about in terms of support for that person should discrimination have been shown to occur. More generally, though, sometimes people choose to have representation when they come to our office, and that is certainly a choice the public can make. It's not for me to say that they shouldn't do that, but I will say many, many, many people come to our office without representation, but some people do choose to engage a employment attorney as they file that complaint.
Great, thank you so much. That was very helpful. Just a word to my fellow council members and to Madam Mayor. I do, having been hearing it on out here, the experience is very, very different with the microphones than it is in person live. Because I know the last time I was in person, I wanted to lean into the mic, and really having it further away is helpful. It really does sound much clearer out here. I know it seems counterintuitive, but I just want to emphasize that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Gallagher. Any other council members? All right. And I haven't seen the attendees online. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Do we have anyone online? Can you click over to attendees online?
No, there's nobody online.
Oh, okay. And any questions from our audience? All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone, for the time.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Galloway, do you want to tee up our WMATA folks?
Mayor, I'll let you tee it up. We'll let you know that after they begin, we have a 15-minute presentation followed by questions and answers.
Thank you, sir.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Charlie Scott here for Metro. I'm in the Policy Government Relations Office, primarily focusing on Maryland and also some of our regional initiatives. So I do have a presentation that I believe has been shared with the town, and then I will also try to share it here. So this looks like it's working, so I will go through this presentation. But basically, at Metro, recently we've definitely seen ridership highs and customer satisfaction increases. So very pleased with the results of fare enforcement activities, crime-fighting activities, making it a safer, more reliable, cleaner system, and definitely customers are responding. We celebrated our first day since COVID with combined a million riders on bus and rail end of March. Coincided with, not surprisingly, opening day of the Nats and also cherry blossoms. But we've actually had a few million-plus days since then, including this week. So definitely, as people enjoy the weather, enjoy activities around town, and some of the return to office initiatives have definitely been good for our ridership on Metro. Looking more specifically, it's region-wide, the return to ridership on Metro Rail, including Maryland. As you can see on this graph, definitely we're at all-time highs since COVID for the state of Maryland. And then even just here in Cheverly also, you can see that we're at all-time high since COVID. So pleased to see ridership increasing across the system, including here in Cheverly. I know that one of the topics of interest for the town and for residents around here is the solar carport project that we are finishing up. This is the fourth of 4 of our solar carport projects. So pleased to see that this is now online, producing electricity. What we're generating here at Cheverly provides electricity for about 280 homes, covering more than 2 football fields of solar panels. And one of the final things we're working on here at Cheverly is connecting the camera systems and the lighting underneath the solar carports. So that's a final task that we are finishing up in the next couple months, and we hope to have the full parking lot. I know we've returned some of the parking lot to customer use. Hope to have the full parking lot available this summer.
Something happened to his microphone.
The microphone in the speaker in the room sounds like it's no longer amplifying, but the interpreter can still hear, so it's still coming out on Zoom. So we need to make sure that the folks in the room can hear.
My green light is still on.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, did that come back? Okay. It's magic. So again, so here's just some frequently asked questions that we've gotten about the solar carport project. Again, we expect to fully reopen this summer. I think right now about 2/3 of the parking lot has been returned to customer availability. Again, the final third later this summer. Again, the major construction has already been completed. It's just those final items that we're wrapping up, and then we'll need some final inspections before the project is fully closed out from our end. And again, it's a win-win. Obviously, the benefits of solar, I think, are well known. And then again, the safety security benefits here at the station. And then also, this is kind of a public-private partnership that we've entered into for 25-year lease payments from the 4 sites where we've initiated the solar carport project. Just some images of what the project looks like here at Cheverly, and then also images of the first 3 stations that have been completed in this initiative. The good thing about going forth is that we've learned some lessons, so we've actually been able to hopefully expedite the full reopening of this station a little bit quicker than the first 3 that we've done. Other initiatives coming to Metro, I hope people are beginning to recognize that our Better Bus Network redesign is being implemented. We are really ramping up customer notification, changing out the bus flags, getting the region aware that this is happening. Metro Bus has been in operations for 52 years now, actually longer than Metro Rail, and this is the first time in Metro Bus's 52-year history that we are embarking on anything of this significance in terms of completely relooking at the network. Here in Prince George's County, we've actually worked very closely with Prince George's DPWT. So we're actually changing all the route names for all Metro bus routes and all of the bus routes here in the county. We've also partnered with the county to support this new network. Didn't have enough buses they have some electric buses that have been sidelined. So we've actually transferred 10 buses from Metro to the bus to help them be able to stand up that they're part of the bus network, which is actually a lot of what we have here in Cheverly. So I will, again, June 29th, customer notification. We find that customers really start paying attention as we change out the bus flags and as things are about 2 to 3 weeks out. But on this one, this is so major, we're really trying to ramp up outreach in May and the final push in June, getting ready for the June 29th launch of this network. So anything that the town can do to continue to help inform residents is definitely much appreciated. Again, this is a very complicated map. I apologize for that. This is all available online. And this kind of shows you, again, all of the current bus routes are some are changing in terms of where they travel, and then also, but all of them are changing in terms of the route numbers. So this chart gives you some indication of what the old routes names were and what the new routes are going to be. So in this area, it's the P22, the P54, P43, and P41. And actually for this area, all of those happen to be operated by the bus. And then you can see the rest of the network. And again, this is a region-wide initiative where we're changing out all the bus routes, all their names across the region. So all Prince George's County routes will start with a P, all Montgomery with an M, all Arlington, Alexandria with an A, Fairfax, Falls Church, Fairfax City, guess it, you can probably guess it, F, and then DC routes are either a D or a C route. Again, this has information on what we are doing to help customers become informed of the network. We have started loading the new network into our trip planner. It should be fully operational in the next 7 to 10 days or so. So basically, what we'd ask customers to do once it's fully operational is pick a date after June 29th and just put in your, where you're starting and where you're trying to go to, and the trip planner will inform you what the new route is that was going to serve you and serve your needs. Again, we have different toolkits that we'll be making available to elected officials, other stakeholders, to try to help them as they produce newsletters and other constituent outreach. So all that is coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So definitely a lot to do when you do something this massive. We've definitely interviewed other transit agencies around the country to learn from them. We're not the first ones who've done anything like this, but we are the largest to do anything like this all at once. So, and we know that nothing is ever going to be perfect on day one, but we're hoping that our riders will understand a few kinks the first few days, and we'll be aggressively working to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. Again, this is kind of a indicator. We've already started putting these the new bus flags out there. We've done about a third of the bus flags. I think there are about 7,500 total that we're working on, and then this will all be done in the next couple of weeks. Again, highlighting what route names are ending and what the new route numbers are going to be. So that's it on the bus network redesign. Other changes that our board has approved coming up are more focused on the rail system. So these go into effect June 22nd. And I think of most interest to Cheverly, most interest to all riders across the region. Weekends, we are going to open 1 hour earlier and close 1 hour later on the weekends. There are a few other changes, probably of most significance here in Cheverly. The Orange Line at Stadium Armory, right now all Silver Line trains, all Silver Line trains right now go towards downtown Largo. We're actually going to split the Silver Line so that half the Silver Line trains go to New Carrollton and half go to downtown Largo. We've looked at the ridership patterns, and both of those spurs, the end towards New Carrollton, the end towards downtown Largo, have about even ridership in terms of demand. So we thought that it would just make more sense to even out the rail service for those two segments of the system. This depicts it all in a map as well. Other changes in Prince George's County, this is actually coming in December, but the yellow line to Greenbelt is going to return as well. Every summer, as most people know, we do embark on efforts to rebuild and repair the system. Nothing too close to Cheverly coming up this summer. The first 3 weeks, 3-week project is one going down towards Franconia, Springfield, and Huntington. So you can see the stations that will be closed there. Obviously, we're implementing, free shuttles like we've done other system closures as we make repairs in this section of the system. And then the other one is in Prince George's County, but again, not too close to Cheverly. This is the end of the Green Line towards Branch Avenue, 4 weeks in August to make repairs in that segment of our system. And again, we'll have free shuttles to get customers to where they need to go. And that's all I have. And of course, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I know I have a slew of questions for you, but I see Councilmember Reiner's hand.
Thank you so much. I think I was the council member who requested this because I feel like it's going to be feedback. Thank you. Because I know that a lot of us in Cheverly have been coming back to the office 5 days a week, and at the time, the parking lot was maybe a third open, and there were times when people couldn't all park there. I'm glad to see that it's open now much more, and it feels like people aren't arriving and finding no parking, although if that is the case, please let us know. I just have a couple of questions. One is a question I keep getting, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The solar roof will never be watertight, right? It will always have water dripping in between the solar panels if it's raining.
I believe what you see today is the final condition of the cardboard canopy project.
That's what I suspected. I just wanted to make sure to ask. The buses, the numbers are changing. Are the destination names also changing, or?
It depends on the route.
Okay.
So some routes are very similar to existing routes, and some routes are really being truncated just to make it a more reliable service. So you really need to look to look to see what route you care about to see what the changes are.
Great. And then my last question, today was actually day 4 of return to office for me, so I've been on the Metro a lot more this week than usual. The Silver Line coming to New Carrollton sounds awesome. Will that make the trains arrive more often, or will they just be spread out in a different way? Because this morning at like peak rush hour, there were trains every 10 minutes, which felt like a big gap to me for prime time rush hour.
So you will see the orange line will be at the same frequency, but then you will have slotted in Silver Line trains.
Okay.
So you may not see actually even frequency between silver, orange, or orange. It may be that you have still, but you will have increased frequency.
Great. So the
Of
Silver
train
Line
service.
trains are not going to be replacing some of the Orange
No,
Line
you'll
trains. They
have
will be in addition
It
to.
will be all additive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those were my questions.
Councilmember Gallagher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Scott, thank you so much for coming to speak with us. During all the repairs and the installation of the solar panels, it's just sort of as a council member, I keep getting residents asking me questions about rumors, saying, "Oh, Cheverly is not one of the most frequently used metro stations in the system. Maybe they're going to close it down because we're not too many ridership." I've had to tell residents, hey, Metro is doing a lot of work, investing a lot of time and energy in our station. It doesn't stand to reason that they'd want to shut it down. But could you please, just for the record, just state, would you be able to say, hey, we don't have any plans to shut down Cheverly Metro Station, or just, let us know your thoughts on that. Thanks.
We don't have any plans to shut down Cheverly Metro Station.
Thank you so much. And this way,
That's
the
easy.
residents can actually hear it from you directly. That's really, really useful. Really glad to have the parking lot back. That was my main question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Gallagher. Councilmember Wade?
I'm not sure if you answered this question, but first of all, thank you for being here. The information is very valuable, especially with everyone going back in the office. The 280 homes that are being powered by that, is that any of the Cheverly residents or any of the surrounding areas, do they benefit from that power? And if so, how is that happening?
We are selling back into the grid.
Okay.
So it's the equivalent of enough electricity to power approximately 280 average homes, but it is, just like any electricity that is generated anywhere goes into the grid, and those electrons, you can't tell if that electron came from the carport here or from electricity generated somewhere else. But that's it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Watson?
I'll be quick. The bus changes, appreciate the information on the flags. Also, thank you for being here. If it takes effect June 29th, I think we'd want to put something in the Cheverly Town newsletter, and that would require us to have some kind of submission from you, if you could, by May 15th. Some kind of, you get with Mr. Galloway with the particulars, but I think we would want to try to explain to Cheverly folks just what's going to happen on June 29th, because we do have a lot of bus usage, both on Columbia Park Road and on 202 and on Cheverly Avenue, and Tuxedo Road, I should say. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All righty. I have a few, and if you want to tell me, that's a great question, but I don't have an answer for you. I'll get back to you. That's fine. I want to piggyback off Councilmember Wade's question, because that was my first question, which is how does Cheverly benefit from the solar panels, since we're the ones that have them on our metro station. It sounds like it's sort of a generic sending it back to the grid. I also noticed that the locations for the other grids are in minority communities. So I'd like to know what Metro plans to do if they aren't doing anything to ensure that those communities are benefiting in some way, since that's where the power is being generated.
So I think what we've seen from the solar carports is that they do provide shade to the vehicles parked underneath them. We do have increased lighting under the carports, and then increased security cameras under the carports. So I think from the shading and the increased light and increased safety security, those are the primary benefits that the users at these four locations are receiving. The locations were actually selected because of the ability to DC, so we're close enough to the district that we can take advantage of renewable energy credits that are offered in the district that are of higher value than the ones offered in Maryland. So that kind of drove the site selection, where the economics of the project would work for for the solar project. If that makes sense, does that make sense?
I think it does. So you all receive a credit from DC.
It's not from DC. So we entered into a public-private partnership. So we will receive 25 years of lease payments from the vendor, and then so we did not spend any taxpayer dollars to construct the solar panel carports. That was all done by the private company, and then the benefit back to us, beyond the ones I just mentioned, and beyond just the general good of solar energy production, as a fighting climate change, all those benefits. But we do receive lease payments based on basically the company says, well, we spent this much to construct this project, so we're going to pay ourselves back first, which is their business, and then we're going to share in the revenue that they receive from selling the electricity beyond that.
Okay. Are you allowed to say who the company is? The vendor?
Yes. I will get back to you. Okay. The company, since we entered into the contract, it actually got bought up by another company, but it's all public. And it may even be in my slide presentation, but I will. If I don't find it in the next minute or so, I can definitely follow up.
That's super helpful. I'm an old Marion Barry appreciator, so if folks are benefiting from a community, I want to make sure they're pouring back into the community. I have another question about corporate partnerships. One of the things that we discussed when Amazon became our neighbor begrudgingly was that we wanted them to work with you all to ensure that we increased ridership for you by having their employees have some sort of discount with Metro cards, or just encouraging their employees to use Metro to get to work. I don't know if that connection ever happened or how we can foster that, but it'd be really great. A lot of Metro, a lot of Amazon employees are coming from the Metro and sort of walking through our neighborhood, but if we can ensure that most of them do, that decreases traffic on Columbia Park Road, which helps us a lot. So if there's a way to make that connection, if they haven't done so already, we'd love to know more about that.
Now, I believe Amazon already does offer transit benefits as one of their employee benefits. And in addition to Amazon, we want all companies, obviously federal employees receive a transit benefit, but we really want all companies out there to at least provide the mechanism for their employees to get tax-free benefits, if not even subsidizing transit, which we think is the best option for. And it's good for employee retention as well, we think, when you can offer those types of benefits.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, we're trying to help champion that.
Thank you.
For you all as well. And so we want you to help us champion some things. So I have posted, I'm an active social media poster, and I have posted the Capitol Bike Share several times to the point where I think they blocked me. But I would like to see a Capitol Bike Share stand at Cheverly.
Okay.
And we would love to have your support in getting that. We see their stolen bikes over here all the time. So we've encouraged them to consider the stand, because then they don't have to come use a truck to figure out how to get their stolen bikes from further down Columbia Park Road. So I don't know if you all have been in discussions with them. They usually say it's corporate and that they don't make decisions on individual sites, but we have an active bike riding community, and it just makes sense. We also will have a growing bike riding community with Hospital Hill development on the upcoming home front. So
We promote all means of access to transit, from pedestrian to biking. So around the system, we definitely work with Capital Bike Share. Usually, they've identified locations where they want to add bike stations, and we always are eager to work with them to identify, where on our station footprint makes sense, so that they're not impeding other users, but definitely getting those stations as close to the station entrances as we can. So definitely you have our support in terms of our willingness to work with Capital Bike Share.
Great. I have two more and then I'm done.
Yeah.
One, thank you for getting the fencing taken care of on Columbia Park Road. That being said, the fencing that is on Metro property proper is much nicer than the fencing that we have down Columbia Park Road. We would love to see that fencing continue. So I feel very confident that a vehicle will run through the fencing that we've just recently repaired, because it seems to happen every other month. But the black fencing is the one that seems to stand even when cars hit it. And unfortunately, that's a corridor where we just have lots of drunk driving and just irresponsible speeds. So with your newfound budget, with folks going back to work, if you can find a little piece of that budget to carry that fencing on further down Columbia Park Road, that would be great.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. I do know that we, and I appreciate, and again, I love getting the requests and being informed when things aren't kept up to the conditions they should be in. Obviously, our station managers, everything close to the station they see, but as you get farther away from the station, and in that case, we had to confirm the ownership of that property, and we confirmed that it is Metro property, so we did have contractors go out to repair that fence, and happy to have that done. So I'll have to look to see if there are any other upgrades we can make, but can't make any promises.
Last but not least, we sort of have this as part of talks with the fencing, and I know that we need to still send you the blocks of spaces where these were. But I've got some staunch environmentalists in town who really appreciated the tree cover. And we don't know, no one notified us. They just came, chopped down the trees and ground the stumps. So we would like to have the trees back. I do know that they were pretty high maintenance. If they became ill or whatever, they would cut down the trees and replant them. I think we can probably, as a town, offer to give you all the trees, because we have a commitment to plant 600 trees, I think, Mr. Brayman, over the course of the next 5 years. So we've got access to trees.
Okay.
But we just want to put them back.
Okay. Well, that's great to know. I have already shared the request. We have an environmental office. They have been working with Casey Trees, and Casey Trees has grants to provide funding for trees, and then they get volunteers, and often Metro volunteers out to plant the trees. But there is some concern that the grant money that Casey Trees has been accessing may be drying up. So if there's another avenue for the acquisition of the actual trees, that may help. So, but we are. I've definitely shared that interest and request already.
All right. Well, this is the end of my hot seat. Is there anybody else on council? No. All right. No, I don't see a hand raised in attendees. Anyone here in person? Any resident? No. All right. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. A few of these I'll these are highlights from last year, from 2024.
All right. Mr. Galloway?
Okay, Mayor and Council, we will have the vendor from the stock sign come up and answer any questions. Just to remind the community, we've already had a public hearing regarding stoplight cameras in the town of Cheverly, and this is an opportunity for the Mayor and Council, along with residents to answer any questions that they may have, and for them to address some of the questions that were sent to them in advance. So if the stop sign camera vendor can come forward, that would be appreciated.
Mayor, this is the chief. If, as he's coming forward, if I could get the mayor and council's indulgence, I'd like to kind of address some of the issues at a more global perspective.
Chief, I actually can't hear you. Can everybody hear him?
No.
All right. Now, I apologize. I'm here with Deputy Chief Kraus, Lieutenant Gleason, and Sergeant Blanc. We've been in training all day, so we're all together, but out of the town. Can you hear me any better, Mayor?
Chief, I will say that virtually you're coming through loud and clear. I don't know.
The issue is the speakers
can't speak
in our
to.
room. The speaker in our room needs to be turned up. Hopefully that won't cause feedback, but I don't think it's a you issue. I think it's an us issue.
Okay. I will do my best to speak clearly and articulate and enunciate so it hopefully comes through clearly at the town hall side. We do have Mr. Rob Carl from Avio. The Avio company has been doing the beta testing now for the past about probably 12 weeks in the town with regards to a number of the stop sign locations that are the most problematic or have been identified as the most problematic by both mayor, council, as well as with resident input. I want to speak, I was not there for the public hearing last week. I was in Hawaii, so don't hold that against me, but I wasn't going to take time away from the Pacific Ocean to join the public hearing. But I have taken the opportunity to review the comments and some of the concerns. So let me just speak globally about automated enforcement. Number one, it is not going away. Automated speed enforcement and automated red light enforcement are approaching 2 decades of use. While the laws have been modified over time to more appropriately, if I may, address some of the concerns of the community, automated enforcement is an effective and, more importantly, an efficient tool and force multiplier as it relates to traffic safety. And as recently as this morning, the deputy chief and I and Lieutenant Gleason and Sergeant Blunt were introduced to additional automated enforcement measures that are being tested and introduced as it relates to capturing individuals that are texting, using their cell phones, distracted driving, even capturing alcohol in the driver's hand, or even weapons in their hands. So the use of the automated enforcement is here, and it's continuing to evolve over time. Those additional types of enforcement measures are not yet here in Maryland, but I would anticipate that we may see that coming our way, and it is actively being tested in a number of states, particularly on the East Coast. As it relates to the stop sign cameras, and most importantly, the collisions as it relates to stop sign enforcement, Transportation Article 21707 of the Maryland Transportation Article is very clear as it relates to the purpose for stop signs and the intent of the stop signs, and more importantly, the preventative measures that stop sign enforcement brings for preventing crashes. Nationally, 700,000 motor vehicle collisions at stop sign intersections annually, every year. 3,000 traffic fatalities involving collisions at stop signs in the United States every year on average. If we talk about the stopping distances as it relates to speed and distance and time, recognize that a vehicle traveling at 10 miles per hour with a friction coefficient of 0.7, which means that perfect conditions, perfect weather, dry surface, good tires, good brakes on an automobile that weighs anywhere between 2,500 to their smaller SUVs at 4,000 pounds, and a perception reaction time of the driver of 1 second. Very conservatively speaking, that means no distractions by texting, cell phones, children in the back seat, sun glare. 10 miles per hour, it takes 19.4 feet to stop an automobile. Take that to 20 miles per hour, and the distance jumps up to almost 50 feet. Why am I sharing this with the mayor, the council community? Is because a 4,000-pound automobile against a pedestrian and a bicyclist, and the pedestrian and bicyclist loses every time. As it relates to the idea that, and I'm just going to put the cards on the table, I've heard it repeated for decades now, that this is an additional tax, an additional revenue generator. As your chief of police, I believe in the use of automated enforcement as a traffic safety tool. That's what it is. And I'm sharing with you that experience this evening because I have investigated those crashes and I've seen the results of those collisions and the carnage and the tragedy that's associated with those types of motor vehicle collisions, to include your chief of police having a car totaled when someone ran a stop sign and T-boned me when I was a chief of police in another jurisdiction. So I believe in the use of this as a public safety tool. For those that believe that it is something contrary, I'm not going to try to persuade or change that perception. I deal with facts as your chief of police, and I'm presenting those facts to you this evening. Mr. Carl will speak more detailed as it relates to the testing, the beta testing, and the results of that beta testing. At the end of the day, this is a policy decision for the mayor and the council. Your police department supports the use of this type of automated enforcement, but again, we defer respectfully to the ultimate decision of the mayor and council. We're just here to provide the facts as it relates to the use of these types of effective measures as force multipliers. What I can state without equivocation and without ambiguity is that it is inefficient. It is an inefficient use of resources to post a police officer to monitor stop signs, regardless of where they may be or the level of violations, particularly when we have access to this type of technology to better serve the community as it relates to public safety. So I'm very, if I sound very direct in my commentary, it's because these are the facts, and I want to make sure that not only the mayor and council, but our community has the facts as it relates to this, as to the use of this type of technology as we continue to promote public safety and make the most efficient use of the resources that we have within the police department to serve the town and all of the needs of the town. So with that, I'd like to appreciate Rob Carl being here this evening and to share the data that they have obtained as a result of their beta testing over about the past 12 weeks with the 10 to 12, 13 cameras that we've used. I think when you hear the statistics will prove the value of this type of technology. So, Mr. Roy, thank you for being here this evening.
Good to go. All right. So thank you, Chief, Mayor, council members. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak for a couple minutes. I think that certainly I agree with everything that the Chief said. As he mentioned, we did do pilots throughout the community, and there's certainly, I'll be able to provide a website to you where you all can go out and actually look at some of the violations yourself. But the overall number across 9 different locations was 3,284 daily violations. And that's to a tune of about 84%. So you have 16% of folks stopping, and everybody, 84% of everybody else is not. So if you look at 3,300 violations a day across the course of a month, you're looking at 90,000 violations. So, and those violations range from kind of low, medium to high, if you will, right? So a low is going to be somebody that is kind of a California stop, right? You slow down, but you never stop. So the numbers are always shocking to me every time I see them. So there are certainly a couple of intersections that were certainly worse. Newton Street and 57th Avenue was certainly a lot, with 1,300 violations a day. And there was an 85% failure to stop at that location. And then the other big one, and the other ones were, I think, I'll say 62nd place in Kilmer was 1,128 daily violations, and that one had 82%. So 18% of people were stopping. And then, like Forest Road and Cheverly, the numbers, 350 violations a day. And then some of the other locations were, around 100 violations a day, which is certainly better than the ones that are 1,000, but 100 violations a day is still 3,000 violations a month. And, unfortunately, the reality is like Riverdale Park unfortunately learned, that car that, killed those 2 children, that car was barely moving. It was really very much a California stop, if you will, right? So it was just somebody looking one way but not stopping and assuming they were good, and as they went, unfortunately. So it really is an epidemic of folks just not stopping anymore. And our goal, our mission as an organization is to really change the behavior. And part of that is having it's kind of why we look at it as it's another tool in the toolbox for the police department. They can't be everywhere all the time, and we've got to change the behavior. And we've had other municipalities, the chiefs will already say that they can just see the behaviors changing, even at locations where there aren't a camera. Just the community itself is just now aware of it. And I know I'm certainly aware of it now. I've been with Obvia for a few months, and my entire driving behavior has changed when it comes to stop signs. I just wasn't aware. And so I'll certainly, like I said, make sure there's a link to a website where you can actually see this and look at a lot of the videos of, they're not all of them, that would be a lot, but there's certainly different videos for you to get an idea of what it is. So with that, I'll certainly answer any questions you have. And
Councilman Ryan?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Galloway sent you a list of questions that one of my residents sent. And if you don't have those and the answers, we can go through them right now.
Yeah, that would be fine. I don't have it, but I certainly will do my best to answer them.
All right. The first one is, what is the revenue share between the company and Cheverly for each fine? For example, if a ticket is $100, how much would the town receive and how much would you receive?
The fine is $40.
Right.
And there's really 2 components to that. It's to say it's 50-50 or it's 80-20. There's a monthly maintenance cost. And so that is paid for out of violations. And there's also a fee for DMV lookup and just some of our fixed costs for any violation that we send to law enforcement to approve. So it's, I don't want to say it's a sliding scale, but certainly it's, we could do some rough numbers for you and I could send you a breakout, but it's certainly beyond 50-50, I would say. And again, it is based to some degree on volume, right? If you're getting 100 citations at a particular camera every month, then there's math that I could show you. I think that's the easiest way to do it, candidly. I could run some scenarios right now, but if there's more violations, then you all certainly that percentage goes up, right? Because the monthly kind of maintenance cost, that is $1,000. So that is kind of the big number, right? And once you move beyond that, then it's, you look at our kind of fixed costs, it's, $10 a violation, right? So you start thinking that then it's really 75%, right? The $30 is going to go to you all. So that's what I mean. Once that $1,000 of the maintenance is covered, then it very quickly becomes more like 75-25.
Councilmember Reiner, can I step in here for just a second, ma'am?
Sure.
Yeah, so the Maryland General Assembly back in 2014, these fee schedules were initially established based on a percentage. So automated enforcement was a 60%, 61% versus 39%, 39% to the provider with the 61% to the agency. In 2014, the Maryland General Assembly changed that. They saw that as a bounty. They felt that gave an incentive to the contractor, the provider, to engage in approvals that perhaps should not have been approved. So the Maryland General Assembly changed the law so that it is a flat rate contract. The contract that we are looking at with Avio, which is also being used by several of the other jurisdictions in Prince George's County, is a cost-neutral contract. The reality is, based on our research and based on my conversations with chiefs from other agencies that are currently using this, the reality is that the revenue to the town will be minimal at best and likely in the negative. The reality is that these cameras will cost more than what the revenue is, but in a cost-neutral contract, the provider receives what it costs to operate the system. If there's anything left over, it comes to the town, but it is cost neutral. The reality is that there will be very little revenue generated because we know that this is designed to modify behavior, as Mr. Carl has already indicated. So, but I want to make it clear that the General Assembly in 2014 addressed the concerns that continue to be addressed by the public without the knowledge that in 2014 the General Assembly changed the law.
Can I continue or should we? Okay. I know that the answer to this is it depends, but if you could explain, during the test, what percentage of cars traveling through the intersections would have actually been issued tickets given like a default setting for the cameras? So if you say 84% violations, but then you had qualifications that it depends. And so what
that specific qualification is determined by the individual town, right? The letter of the law is you stop, right? So in that case, if you wanted to go that route, then there'd be 3,300 violations a day and that many citations going out. So it depends. It depends on, in some cases, it's the letter of the law. In some cases, it's I've heard that you look at, if I was sitting there as a police officer, I was sitting there, would I write the ticket, right? So that is for you all to ultimately decide. What will be determined as a violation will be based on what you all want it to be.
Councilmember, if I could, and I sorry to continue to interrupt, but I want to speak from the experience and also talk about the parameters that can be set. So automated speed enforcement, using that as an example, one can be traveling at 11 miles per hour over the speed limit before it triggers the speed camera at 12 miles per hour. That was set by state statute. The Maryland General Assembly, when it passed the statute as it relates to stop sign enforcement, did not provide any deviation because 21707 requires a full stop. It requires a full stop either at a stop line or at a stop sign before proceeding into the intersection. Now, we also recognize that intersections are inherently not the best designs, and that sometimes it requires going past the stop sign or the stop line in order to be able to properly clear the intersection. And we recognize that. So as Mr. Roy has pointed out, there is the letter of the law and then there is the spirit of the law. My recommendation would be that we establish parameters that, looking at the individual intersections and with the assistance of our traffic engineer that the town has utilized, identify those parameters so that going into past that stop line or that stop sign, but still within a predefined box, would not trigger a violation. Likewise, and this is a policy decision for the mayor and council, is to look at what speed may or may not be appropriate for a vehicle to travel through the stop sign before it triggers a violation. I did ask for data as it relates to the average speeds of vehicles that have been captured during the beta testing. Then Avio is working on providing that data. Some agencies have already predefined that they are not going to allow any deviation, that the law requires a stop, and therefore that's what triggers the violation. Other agencies have said 3 to 4 miles per hour typically constitutes a California roll. That's why I spoke to how the stopping distance under ideal conditions to stop a 2,500 to 4,000 pound automobile that's traveling simply at 10 miles per hour. So again, that's a policy decision for the mayor and the council. My recommendation would be that we look at the average speeds that will be provided by Avio and give you some more data so that you can make an informed decision before we move forward with actual installation, and if it's the desire of the mayor and council to move forward with the use of this technology at all. And if it's the desire of the mayor and council to do so, we can have those extended conversations. If the mayor and council desire not to move forward, then that's a policy decision for the mayor and council. But we can set the parameters, and I just wanted to make sure that there's a full understanding of the community that that this is directed towards public safety, traffic safety, and at the end of the day, I don't think anyone wants to be sitting here trying to explain later on why a child was hit in an intersection chasing a ball and the car couldn't stop because they were traveling through an intersection at 10, 15, 20 miles per hour.
Okay. I have 2 more questions, and I apologize, but my resident did send these well in advance, and I understand were sent to the company so that they could address them as part of the presentation. So I'm just going to run through the last 2.
I certainly appreciate that, Councilmember.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure that your constituents are getting an informed answer. So we do appreciate this.
Councilmember Reimer, your questions were sent in.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway. I thought so. What publicly available data is available to demonstrate that stop sign cameras increase safety, not just at the intersection, but like in the neighborhood as a whole where they are installed? So what are the stats there? Where is the data that shows that it's actually going to make a difference in the neighborhood?
Beyond specifically at the camera location, I'll have to get back to you.
Okay. Great. One last question. If the federal government, like let's say ICE or DHS, came to you with an order to turn over your traffic data for an investigation, how does your company respond? Are you required to comply? Would we have any recourse to prevent data sharing? If someone came to us to ask for the data, do we have to comply? Can you talk through that a little bit?
Remember, I can address that. One, the town owns the data. Number one. Number two, if regardless of what agency they would, if they had a subpoena issued by a judge, then we would comply with the subpoena. But they would have to subpoena the data. It would have to be a judicial authorization, whether it was the state police, the county police, the FBI, whomever. So, but we own, the town owns the data, not the company.
And one of the things I'll just add, because I know privacy is a big piece of all of this, right? And I get it. I understand that. So one of the things that we do is uniquely different is the data resides at the pole. So if there is a violation, that 10-second video clip is what is sent securely to our AWS web server. And then that data is overwritten on a regular basis, right? So it defaults to 12 hours, whether that's shortened or otherwise, but it's one of the things that we're not sending everything. So we get it. We really want to be, privacy conscious. I certainly am. It's a big thing to me, just generally speaking. So I think that's unique to what some of the other vendors potentially do with red light and speed, et cetera.
If I could, council member, one of the additional things, there was a bill passed this year dealing with all automated enforcement. It was introduced by Senator Love from Montgomery County, dealing with the retention of that data. And as Mr. Roy has already indicated, unless it's a violation, that information is overwritten. Any violation can only be held for a year or until a case is adjudicated. So even if it were used in a criminal investigation, there are retention limitations that were just passed this year and signed into law through this General Assembly session to address those concerns that you're mentioning.
Great, thank you. I have comments and a proposal, but I want to make sure that everyone else has a chance for questions and I'm not monopolizing.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Gallagher?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two follow-up questions to Councilmember Briner's question about the data sharing. First question, I think the chief had made clear that the town owns the data. You had just mentioned, Mr. Carl, that the data resides at the pole. Do your employees, are they fully trained in the usage and in the data stewardship? In other words, are your employees well versed that if they are approached by ICE to say, hey, we're doing an investigation, can you help us out? Are they well versed in knowing that the data actually belongs to the town? Do they know to say, hey, you're going to have to contact the town government on that if you want help. I can't help you here.
Yes, they absolutely do. Furthermore, there is a very small number of people that even have access to the data. So to answer your question, yes, certainly. And again, the data is restricted to who can even access it.
That's wonderful. My second question has to do with sort of the hacking technology. We've seen some data breaches at the federal level by folks who have some tech skills. I'm going to voice a great deal of distrust and mistrust of some people claiming to be authorities who want to circumvent law and protocol. So if someone were to come by, and is there a way of sort of hacking the system? Are there, I'm not a tech guy, so are there entry points where one can hack into the system? Is it something that can be read outside? Could you speak to what vulnerabilities there might be in someone hacking into the system or trying to get the data, and what might be the mitigation strategies that you're using to safeguard them?
Yeah, so certainly at the box, there's no way to capture the information, right? So it's encrypted directly on the box, and there's not you're not going to come up and scan it somehow, right? When it comes to transmission of the data, it is transmitted very much via 5G, so very much like a text message is sent, right? So it is sent securely and ultimately ends up, like I said, in our Amazon Web Services, so our fully secure cloud storage. If you want to get more technical, I certainly could, get some of that additional information from one of the engineers and make that available to you.
Thank you, sir. I would appreciate that. That if it's sent like a text, if I would particularly be interested in knowing if that message would be encrypted. You did say that it's stored as encrypted, and it would be sent via text.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Or okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's sent via 5G, so I just, it's like anything else when you're surfing the web, right? If you're on your phone, everything that we're doing is through 5G technology. So the same way a text is sent, the same way you would go out to a website, that type of thing, is how the 10-second clip is sent to the cloud.
Okay. Thank you. So I would appreciate that extra information.
Sure.
Thank you for answering.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions.
Councilmember Watson?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to echo some of the skepticism that my colleagues have voiced about the data. Data integrity is probably the wrong word, but just the data security is probably the right word. I still have some civil liberties concerns, but so I'll just put that out there, and I think we'll talk more about that. On the money side, I think the answer to these, I think I know the answers to these, but number one, I think I heard you say, and Chief, I think, is the one who really underlined this, is that this is likely a net money wash for the town. It's not a money maker, likely. It's not going to result in any revenue for the town. So the town wouldn't be doing it as a way to enhance revenue. And number two, so clarify that, please. And then number two, isn't it true that we could get some revenue from this, whereas when an officer writes a uniform Maryland code ticket for a stop sign or any other traffic infraction, the money goes to the state? Thank you.
Chief, are you answering that, or would you like me to answer it?
Yeah, so Councilmember Washington, you're exactly correct as it relates to traffic citations are handled through the district court. Any payments made on a traffic citation, whether someone pays it or goes to court and subsequently found guilty in a court trial, all that money goes to the state of Maryland. So that's regardless. That's whether it's a speeding ticket, a DUI arrest, or anything else. As it relates to this, as you've already indicated, I've responded. I don't see this as any kind of a significant net revenue. But then again, quite frankly, I would not be supporting use of any automated enforcement if the idea of supporting the automated enforcement was as a revenue generator. I believe in the use of automated enforcement as a force multiplier for public safety to modify driver behavior to save lives. Prince George's County leads the state in traffic fatalities. It has consistently for many years, and unfortunately, 2024 has hit yet another record high for traffic fatalities throughout the state. So this is simply an effort to modify behavior, and if it modifies behavior and is, as you said, I'll use your words, a net wash, that's fine. If it saves one life, then that's one life that's saved. And as we're moving into the warmer temperatures, and we want a pedestrian-friendly, a bicycle-friendly, a child-friendly community, particularly in our crosswalk areas, then this is just another tool in the tool belt. It is a tool, not the tool, but again, we save one life, we save one life. But ultimately, that is a policy decision for the mayor and council, and I'd respect the decision regardless of what that decision might be.
Councilmember White?
Yeah, I think we covered a little bit of the, as far as the revenue. I just want to, like Councilman Briner, I had one inquiry from a resident, so I'm just going to go over some of the things that he mentioned. Again, about the allocation of the revenue, if there's any revenue being to a general fund, and more importantly, that the revenue should be earmarked for road safety measures such as speed humps, additional cameras, road markers, etc. The council should continue to fund this line. Item as if it did not expect any revenue from the cameras, since it shouldn't be a balance of the budget on people breaking the law and putting themselves in a bad place of revenue fall shortage. And the other aspect was around encouraging warnings for the first and maybe even the second offense rather than immediate tickets. And again, he's for the person is for the cameras, but the fact of the matter, not making it part of the budget, as well as the first or second offense. Just wanted to make sure that that particular resident's voice is heard regarding that.
Yeah, and specifically, there typically is a warning period, right? And that's, again, something that we can discuss, whether it's a couple of weeks, whatever you want it to be. There's also something else that we do that's unique is we're not going to stack tickets on someone, right? So if somebody does run a stop sign, that we withhold for 14 days before they would be issued another citation, right? We want them to hopefully, right, either change the behavior, but if they should get a citation, give them an opportunity to say, oh, I got a citation, and hopefully make some adjustments to behavior to not get another one. So we don't want to see where folks can get them stacked up and next thing you know, they've got 10 or 12 tickets. So that's, again, our intention is to fix the behavior, not to be a tax, as people say.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Fry?
So with what we've seen so far, because I know there's 7 municipalities in the county so far that have started this program, probably about January-ish. Have you guys had a chance to look at the data in the past 4 months, and what is the likely time frame where we could anticipate seeing that kind of change in people's driving behaviors? And I know it's going to depend too, depending on placement and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the early results, and we do have, about 6 municipalities that are up and running. So there's a delay, obviously, from when warning period, et cetera. But specifically with 2 of the municipalities, we have seen in the first 8 weeks, we saw a 50% reduction and a 38% reduction in stop sign violations. So it's really exciting, and we're excited about, where's it going to be in 4 months or 6 months, right? Typically with any kind of automated enforcement, the average nationally is you work to a 70% reduction. We certainly want to see that. We want to see the behavior. We want to see a 90% reduction. We want to see it go to 0. So the early signs are it's very promising, and we're certainly going to have more and more data as some of the newer municipalities, we can start looking at their data.
Yeah. So I guess that goes to my next question is, and Chief, this might be including you as well as, what is the minimum commitment that we would have to make if we wanted to pilot something like this in town? So let's say, I don't know, if we just, wanted to see what it would look like for a year, or if we saw that drastic reduction in, the violations.
Yeah.
And then just felt like, hey, I don't know that we need this so much anymore. People have changed their behavior in the way that they're driving. Are we, is there a minimum, what we're looking at, 1-year contract, 2-year contracts, is there, or just, does that depend from municipality?
Typically it'd be a yearly contract. Okay. Certainly if the behavior gets reduced all the way down to 0, you have, we can certainly come take the camera down and remove it. So again, the whole program, the way it's designed, is to be cost neutral, okay, right? So there won't be any time, case in point, if there is not enough violations to handle the $1,000 a month, then there simply isn't anything, right? Then it's just kind of a wash, if you will, right? So it really is designed to be cost neutral. But certainly, that's the hope, right? If we get down to the point where the behavior stopped, then we just simply take the camera down.
Okay, because I guess then my next question is, how easy is it to move locations? I know when you guys were just collecting the data, is that what it would look like if we actually, install, or does it actually, because it's pretty...
No, the finished solution, and I had some slides I was going to show you, but I think I probably would have needed 40 minutes to really go through it all with you. But no, so the camera is fixed. One of the cool things we do is we work with the communities. We actually wrap them so it doesn't look like just a pole. It's a very small footprint compared to, I think, what a lot of people think of speed cameras and so forth. It just kind of looks like R2-D2, or it's some kind of weird pole with 15 different things hanging off of it. Ours is very streamlined. It's solar powered, And there's just one small camera on it, and kind of the unit that houses the hardware inside of it. We typically, our cameras are fixed. It doesn't cost us much to put them up. And again, that's the cost that we absorb. So what we kind of look at it is to get the best results is you end up with, effectively, you want it to be kind of a mesh, right, within a community. So they're not movable. I think maybe is potentially what you were asking. They're fixed, but certainly, so our kind of attitude is if there's another problem area, then another camera's put up, and we just, again, it's a very small footprint. It's about this big is actually what the concrete is that's flush to the ground. And we have other municipalities that they started with 8 cameras, and in some cases they've decided they need more. So I hope I'm answering your question.
No, you are. And then my last question is, what kind of signage would we be required to put around town if we were to have these cameras in town? I figure we probably have to have, you don't have to put something.
By law, you don't have to, the way the law is written. We certainly do our part. We want to make sure, we really go out of our way to make sure the community is aware of this, right? So we can provide you information for your social media, for Facebook. We actually put out yard signs and everything. We provide bumper stickers. We really want this to be about the whole community buying into this, not, oh, these are these cameras, right? Because we kind of look at the epidemic of driving, and whether it's stop signs or distracted driving, right? Seat belts, everything. It's the modern day drunk driving. And it was a monumental effort to get drunk driving under control, right? It was community groups. It was all just legislation. It was a whole host of things. That's kind of how we're looking at what's happening now. So yeah, we want to be very much out there and want people to know, hey, this is where it is. So it's certainly not a gotcha at all. It's really, hey, be aware, change the behavior.
Okay, so there's no requirement by law, but that's something that we could decide as a community.
Yeah.
We wanted to put signage up or something, so
and
we're very aware that this is being monitored.
Correct. And there's municipalities that handle it differently. They'll put a sign directly on the stop sign saying you're on camera. There's ones that will put something when you kind of come into the town. A lot of times there's a sign there where it just says, hey, we enforce speed or whatever it may be. So certainly anything you want to do.
Appreciate that. Thank
Sure.
you.
Councilmember Garces?
I don't know about y'all, but I'm still kind of curious on that $1,000 a month maintenance fee. So is that like a flat fee every month? So it's like if something breaks down during the month, y'all don't come back, fix it, send us a bill for that?
No, you will never receive a bill. That's the whole point of the cost neutral model is we will never invoice you for anything. The $1,000 is maintenance, yes, it's maintaining the pole. It's anytime we have a newer advanced camera, anytime there's newer advanced technology, we come out. Yes, it's absolutely the servicing of it. Our technicians are based locally. So it's all of that, right? It's ensuring that there's not an issue, and we do other things as well. If the camera's down for so many days, and there's effectively money's credited back to you all, if you will. So yeah, again, the whole model is cost neutral. There's not any time you're gonna, we're gonna invoice you for anything, or you're gonna owe us anything.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question about sort of your business and what you spoke to about the number of cameras and longevity of them. How long have you all been in business?
2 years now. Okay. And we just received a very large investment, so things are really exciting, and we're rapidly growing. Our technology is really the latest and greatest of AI technology. What we can do versus what some of the legacy companies out there, it's a dramatic shift. We're actually ahead of the legislation in a lot of cases of what we can do. But yeah, we're still relatively new. We're a Silicon Valley startup. I'm based here in Maryland, but.
Okay. Do you have data for your company that indicates that it is possible to actually reduce the infractions? Or do you have legacy data from other companies that show over time you've improved conditions enough to where you actually don't need a camera anymore?
That's certainly, ultimately, like I was saying, nationally, what is typically shown is a 70% reduction in the behavior, and whether that's, red light running, speed, what have you. Stop sign, we really are the pioneers of stop sign, right? In PG County, Bill HB 364 was really the beginning of stop sign legislation, and now it's growing, and Montgomery County is looking at stuff. City of Baltimore and Tacoma Park are now going to be doing some things with that. There's additional legislation in New York. So on the stop sign side, it's a little different in that we really are pioneers in terms of what we're seeing the results. And so, as I mentioned, 2 of the municipalities that have been running it for, it's now about 3 months they've been up and running, they're seeing a 50% reduction in stop sign violations. So the early data is incredibly promising, right? Talk about 3,000 violations a day, to have it cut to 1,500 within 8 weeks is substantial. And I think we're going to continue to see that trend over the next few months.
Yeah, okay. My thoughts were, I don't ever want us to say, oh, we have conquered an issue. It's 2 years later, let's take those cameras down, and then it pop right back up. So it doesn't sound like we have enough data from you all yet to figure out if that's even an issue because of just the
in terms of whether a year or two, right? So all we can look at is the historical data from red light, speed, that type of thing.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilman Brennan?
I was going to make comments instead of questions. Thank you so much for answering those questions. I look forward to seeing more data, more in-depth data about the efficacy. And I feel like everyone knows, Chief Morris knows, I was a huge cheerleader, big proponent of the speed cameras on 202, right? And I think they've done a really good job of slowing people down. I'm not against automated enforcement. Some of what makes me pause here is that when there's a speed camera on 202 or a red light camera, that's a big road that doesn't have a lot of people living on it, doesn't have as many pedestrians. But when we get to the point where there are stop sign cameras within town, all of a sudden we have houses within the field of view of the camera living their daily lives, potentially on camera, right? And that's a little different to me. And so I want to make sure we tread carefully, especially because if these stop sign cameras are pioneers, I want to make sure that we're not just jumping into them because they could be pioneers the wrong way. Not that I think anything bad about your company or anything bad about stop sign cameras. And I mentioned this before, but I think there needs to be a different level of community input here. One of the things that I've talked about before is having an advisory group that would look at new technologies, look at placement, just have a larger voice for residents in these kinds of decisions. But also, and like full credit to Matthew, my resident, who had this idea and he pointed it out, we have speed humps in town, all over town, right? But if we're gonna put a new speed hump up, we don't just say, we're gonna put it here. We say, residents, you have to go around and get 60% of the block to say yes to this speed hump. We need like consent and buy-in from the people right there that are being the most impacted. And I think that is a good model to look at here as well, to say, how can we make sure that those houses that are in the field of view, those people who are going to be most impacted, have a larger voice, and it's not just the 6 of us up here placing cameras willy-nilly that potentially are just eavesdropping on their entire lives. I know there are ways to make the camera not look at houses, but the general point still stands, and just the idea that we are talking about very advanced AI also just makes me pause, because I know that that's just an area we don't know a lot about. And so I just want us to be cautious. I want us to make sure that we are overloading on resident input here, because we're talking about cameras right outside people's houses. So that's my piece.
Okay. Councilmember Gallagher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought you were going to tee this up, so I'll just take it to the next step. Mr. Carl, you said that your company has been in business for 2 years. One thing that is on my mind with technology has to do with transition plans. I had this experience at a former workplace where our whole division invested in a knowledge sharing, knowledge management software, put a lot of time inputting a lot of documents, a lot of knowledge. The company was sold, and the software was no longer supported, and all that work went away. Now, you did say that the town would own the data. So, but what I would like to hear is a little bit more about what sort of plans do you have in place for in case of, say, your company is bought out, or say there's your company is sold, or what sort of transition plans do you have in place, in case something not immediately related to the system itself were to transpire that could sort of affect how all of this is being collected and processed.
So to make sure I'm hearing your concern is if the company is acquired, what is kind of, where does the data end up? Or how does
if the company is acquired, where does the data end up? If there's a sort of a change in technology, change in platform, being able to transition from say one format to another, I'm thinking sort of broadly, but to make it more concrete, where does the data end up, and how is it stored? Is it is it sort of the digital file that can easily be migrated to another system? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. Any data, and this happens. Example I know of is in a previous role. Municipalities, for instance, would use one entire software system, and they would have it for years. And when the next software system they decide they're going to go with that, there was a data migration component that had to happen. And so the same thing would apply. One, I certainly understand the concern, just in terms of generally any company. But I certainly can tell you the way things are going, we are only going on going upward, and there's not the intention to sell the company out. But certainly, your data is going to be your data, and as the law stipulates, after a year, it has to be deleted anyway. But certainly, if there was any kind of a transition like that, we would certainly make sure that you still had access to the data. If we want to get into more detail, I think ultimately, speaking with probably the president of the company or something to that effect, if you really wanted to understand, I think in more detail, some of that. But certainly, companies are bought all the time, and it has to be continuity of the business. There has to be, in many cases, the data may migrate from one instance of a web service to another one, but, at the end of the day, the data has to follow the laws that are out there in terms of retention, security, and so forth. So I don't know if that's answering your question to a satisfactory level. If not, I certainly, like I said, can have one of the executives speak with you.
Thank you so much. I think for the time being, it answers my question for now. Any follow-up questions? I think I kind of like the idea of that Councilmember Briner's resident Matt had just and sort of getting buy-in. I don't know if maybe we have a citizens committee or sort of a town board that gets on that can sort of dig into these kinds of things later. That's sort of kind of on our end. to be able to think of these kinds of these issues. But I do appreciate your speaking to these questions. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, as it relates to sales of companies, the company that we're using currently for our automated speed enforcement has probably changed names at least 4 times in the past decade. There's never been any problem with the retention. There's never been any problem with the data security. There's never been any problems with our retaining the data. The data is owned by the client. We're the client.
Wonderful. Thank you for reinforcing that.
All right. Any other council members? I too, Councilmember Barney, you bring up a very good point that I think can be addressed very easily from an administrative change to our forms, which is just if you want a speed hump, you have to go talk to your neighbors. We can add this to that form. I will say that the thing that gives me some pause about that is I don't know that we pay attention to people having California stops as much as we do as people speeding. It's easier for me to see somebody speeding down the street and realize there's a child or a person in danger. And it's less easy for me to pay attention to the fact that somebody just rolled through the stop sign. And because it's less easy for me to see that, and until today I did not have the information that Chief offered, which is it takes a whole lot of effort to stop a car. And that the poor children in Riverdale Park were killed with very little speed, right? Very little past what it took to go past a stop sign. So for me, it sounds like this is something that causes, if not as much grave harm, close to it, without us paying as close attention to it as it being an epic problem, if that makes sense. I would not think that this is, like, if you think of this in terms of a test, we failed miserably, right? Only 16% of the people that are going through our streets are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, I think in terms of safety, I don't know that I want residents to say, let's get a group together and see if at least 50% of us could do the right thing for the street. So that's the only thing that makes me concerned about that. I obviously like a good regimen or a good process, and that seems like the most easiest one to follow. So just want to offer that. Any other council members? All right, anyone online? I see no hands raised. Any resident? Oh.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yes, Chief.
The issue in Riverdale Park has been brought up twice now, both by Mr. Carl and by you. I had a very candid conversation with Chief Turner this morning about that particular incident. That intersection of Taylor Road and Riverdale Road is a 4-way stop. The driver was not distracted. They were not using a phone. They made a left from Taylor onto Riverdale Road and struck 2 small children and an adult in the crosswalk. The driver was, in all probability, and this is the best that they could determine, the driver was looking to the right to make sure the intersection was clear, and then made the left and struck the 2 children that traveling at most 4 to 5 miles per hour. So when we're talking about these types of situations in these intersections, as I said, 700,000 crashes annually in the United States, 3,000 fatalities as a result of individuals failing to obey stop signs. So at the end of the day, the statistics are what the statistics are, but the statistics be darned, these are souls that are lost. And in Riverdale Park, it was 2 small children. The adults survived the injuries, and it was simply making a left-hand turn onto a roadway that was controlled by a 4-way stop. There was no evidence that the driver was operating in a negligent manner. It was truly just a tragedy. And individuals that roll through stop signs, and I will tell you without equivocation, I have gone out myself. I have monitored the stop signs. I have sat with my emergency equipment on, and anyone that's seen my car knows that it looks like a Christmas tree when it is lit up. And I've watched people go through the stop signs at 10 to 15 miles per hour with me sitting there, and several folks even wave as they go by. So at the end of the day, This is not a passing issue, and I respect the issues concerning with privacy, but one, it only captures the violations, and the rest of the data is overwritten within 24 hours. There are judicial mechanisms in place that protect the privacy of the data. As I said, the data is owned by the town, and to acquire the data outside of the use for authorizing the citation to be issued and approved by the program manager, that data, it would require a subpoena to get the data. So it is a very narrow focused area on this. And I just want to say that I've had these conversations with my colleagues. I want to be clear that we want the community input, but at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that our community is safe. And I think that's our primary focus. And I'd like to at least hopefully keep our focus on the community safety. Thank you for your indulgence.
All right, thank you, Chief. And Councilmember Delacour.
Thank you. Chief, thank you for reminding us that it's just the violations that are held, that the non-violation data are erased after a day. This is all important information to remember. I definitely want to make sure that the privacy questions get asked thoroughly and get inspected thoroughly, because I'm going to say it plainly, we are living in a dictatorship. Governments or entities claiming to be the government have been circumventing the law. And I will protect the Constitution just as you do, and just as we all do. We all respect the Constitution, and we protect public safety. We just definitely have to make sure all these questions get asked, and get asked thoroughly up front. Thank you.
All right. All right. If there's a resident, please come up to this mic, state your name, your ward, and keep your comment or question to 3 minutes.
Okay. Let me get a little timer here. Thank you. All right. Thank you, council members, and thank you, Chief Morris and Abvio, for being here. I'm actually really encouraged by the conversation we're having as a community about the cameras. I came to the public hearing along with 4 other residents who spoke, and I think of the 5 of us there, 3 had serious questions and were skeptical, 2 were in support. I think more folks would have been here tonight, but I didn't see this on the agenda when it was initially emailed out, and I emailed my council member to ask about it, and it was added, but only yesterday. So like only 24 hours notice or so for folks to come. I think there's more conversation to be had, so I hope there's still time for the town to consider this a little longer. I'm really encouraged though by the information that you shared tonight. I had a number of questions around cost and revenue, and questions I raised in the public hearing I feel like were thoroughly answered, and that's really a great feeling to have as a resident, that you can come to a meeting, ask questions, and then get follow-up and answers. I still, like others here, have concerns around privacy and data, and I think we're all right now experiencing a time where data isn't as safe as we were told it was. And I'm a former employee of Peace Corps headquarters, both as a volunteer overseas and as an employee at their headquarters, and they were visited by DOJ 2 weeks ago, and political appointees let them in on a Friday afternoon. They got access to the mainframes of Peace Corps, and all the data was downloaded by a couple of 20-somethings on their laptops. That includes my own personal data from being a volunteer, all of my health records that I had to upload and give to the Peace Corps in order to serve, the thousands and thousands of other volunteers that trusted the Peace Corps with their data. That data no longer lives in the building. None of the data policies that Peace Corps promised the public that it would protect that data with were followed. And I think that's a very different circumstance than this one, but a mesh network of cameras within our community that have AI connected to them, ran by a Silicon Valley company on the other coast, is a private company using data to assist law enforcement. And I agree it's an excellent tool to have in the toolbox, and I know Chief Morris is lobbying hard to add that. I just would caution, do we need to be the pioneers of this technology in Prince George's County, in Maryland? Do we need to do that, or could we wait maybe and learn from the other communities that are adopting this, that we know there's several, and see how things go over the course of a year and see what implications it's had? I also would really love to see data on like the neighborhood-wide safety. I know at the intersections, the stop sign violations may go down, but I'm really curious of like, are people going on side streets? You know, I would love to see some more longitudinal studies on like overall neighborhood safety, and I'm sure you all have that data or can get it over the course of the next year from our neighboring communities. I would just caution the town to say, you know, do we have to be tip of the spear on this tool? Can we wait, especially given the concerns around data safety and privacy and just the overall really friendly vibe of this town? I don't like the idea of a big sign at Cheverly that says "Smile, you're on camera." Had that living in DC with all the cameras there, and I moved here with my wife and our new daughter because I wanted to get away from that a little bit. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Mayor, I just wanted a point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
The agenda was actually updated on Monday. Yesterday, the packet went out to the town residents. So the agenda was updated on Monday afternoon.
All right. Any other residents online? Okay, Councilmember Gallagher, back to you.
Okay, I just also want to clarify. I did not hear Chief's statements as lobbying. I don't want to give that impression or think that's not how I was hearing it. I heard him that is saying, "Hey, I am a public servant. These are the facts that I'm dealing with. These are the consequences, the likely consequences I can see." But it's really up to the elected officials to make the decision. I wanted to make sure that was understood, or at least that's how I heard it.
Thank you, Councilmember Gallagher. I have a strange question. For the 3,284 daily violations, do we know what the speed was for each one of those violators? And is there an average speed?
With the particular violence we were doing.
Mayor, that was the question that I posed earlier today to try to get that data. So it's not readily available, but I've already asked for that.
Okay, great. Maybe we were thinking the same thing, Chief. I think that what's been brought forward today from both the council members and community is really important. We do not live in precedent times, and we have not been able to trust systems that we've been able to trust in the past. But my thought process is, if out of 3,284 violators, they're going at least 5 miles an hour, all of those could have been deaths, every last one of them. And when I think about being the tip of the spear, it is certainly to protect the lives of our residents. So I think that information would be very helpful if we can get that.
Yeah, and I would just say that the saying to be a pioneer and the tip of the spear, it's the beginning of a movement, and it really is great, right? And there's a couple of counties in New York that look like they're going to start doing it. So I know for some of the communities in Prince George's County, they kind of wear it as a badge of honor that, hey, we are starting this. This movement is starting with us. And it is going to absolutely spread. Like I said, Maryland's looking at additional stuff. Virginia, they had a big piece of legislation. Unfortunately, the current governor voted down or vetoed it, but it'll likely be back next year. Like I said, New York, Colorado has similar legislation. I think it can be looked at either way, right? That it's really a badge of honor, and some municipalities look at it that way. That's certainly how we look at it, that we're on the forefront of something that is an epidemic that no one thinks about anymore stopping. It's become so normal that, that's why 85% of people aren't stopping. And I know in my short time that it's been a dramatic change, and there's no cameras, right? I mean, everywhere I go, I stop at stop signs. I sometimes wonder if I'm going to get rear-ended because people are just so used to no one stopping, right? But it's changed my behavior. So I think so much of this is the awareness of it, and that's why we try to do a lot with education, community buy-in, and really educating the community. And a piece of our overall program, which is called Let's Drive Safer, a component of that, yes, is the camera, but so much more of it is educating the community and being aware of the problem.
Yeah, and just in support of what the resident has mentioned, what I was curious about is we've got 84% violations at, you said, the corner of Newton and 57th, 82% violations at, or was that 62nd and Kilmer? But for those two, let's say we put the cameras there, does it just move? Are we doing whack-a-mole, right? Like, all right, well, we had 100 violations before, but now since we put those cameras there and people have learned to slow down, now further down the street at Forest and Cheverly, that 100 violations turns into 200. I don't know that we'll know that without getting the initial set of data.
And all I can share at this point is the feedback from the chiefs. And all I can share at this point is the feedback that we're receiving from the chiefs, right? That they are personally seeing the effects it's having throughout their towns. When they're out driving around, they're seeing that people are stopping now, that the behavior is changing. And so, yeah, that's a little anecdotal, right? And it's listening to chiefs that were aware of the problem, made a decision that we need to do something about it, and having the cameras is changing the behavior. I really do believe a lot of it is people just simply aren't aware of it. They just don't consciously think about it anymore. And it's, to your point, it takes a split second and a life is lost. And so, yeah, you're right. When you look at 3,300 violations a day, any one of those, so, it's trying to avoid a tragedy.
Okay. Chief, were you looking for anything today? Are you looking for a motion?
No, ma'am. I wanted to be able to have an open, frank, candid, factual discussion. And respectfully, I want to remind the mayor and council that the camera locations that were selected were based upon the input from the mayor and council for those areas within the town that their residents or constituents identified as the most dangerous and the most problematic. So we did not randomly select, the police department did not randomly select any of those locations. That was directly from the information from Madam Mayor and Council. And we continue to receive complaints daily. What about enforcement at this stop sign? What about enforcement at that stop sign? So, but again, I've said it and I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say it one last time for the evening, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut after this. This is a force multiplier, and it is an inefficient and ineffective utilization of our sworn officers to try to whack-a-mole these stop sign intersections when we have this technology that's available and is being used in other locations successfully throughout the county.
All right, thank you, Chief. Councilmember Brenner.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disagrees that the stop sign issue is extremely important and something we need to address. Two things I wanted to point out. One, the intersection that I pushed very hard for a pilot stop sign camera was 62nd and Kilmer at the Arboretum. I do want to flag that intersection, one whole side of it has no houses. And so if we're going to take a look at places where we can put cameras that maybe have fewer houses, would capture like less of daily life, I'll just put that forward as a potential location. The other thing I wanted to note is that this is our last meeting before Election Day. Typically, the meetings post-election day in May are very full of things like swearing in and policies and procedures. So if I were going to think about next steps here, I might think about the policy subcommittee, assuming it stays somewhat intact. Taking a look at this, maybe with the help of some residents who have expressed interest, and creating a proposal so that we don't lose the momentum. Because what I can see happening here is we had this great conversation. There are some new people at the table next time. We have to go over everything again. What did we say? What are we doing? So I just wanted to put that forward as well.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Briner. I believe that you are part of the policy subcommittee. So what I would offer or suggest is if you are around next meeting, that we take that to policy subcommittee and see if we can get some input from community so that we don't lose the momentum. Yeah. All right, with that, if there's no more questions at the table or online or in community, we will, oh, did you want to come up for resident input?
Hi, I'll be brief. Lane Thompson. There we go. I'll be brief. Lane Thompson, Ward 3. Simple question. When we're talking about the privacy and the concerns that have been rightly raised about observations of daily life, can you tell us more about how those cameras are pointed, what the field of vision is, so that we can address, can you address those concerns more directly?
Yeah, great question. The cameras, the fixed cameras are taller. So the angle of the camera is much more down than catching. The pilot cameras are much more in line, right, parallel, if you will, with, yes, the houses and everything. The permanent camera is, while it's not super tall, it is taller and it's pointed directly more down at the road. So it just dramatically changes the angle. And really what we're what we're looking to capture is the car coming up to the stop sign and then proceeding through. So there's a camera that's kind of getting the, I'd say wide angle, right? But it's getting kind of you want to see the car actually come up, you need the violation happening. And then the other camera is specifically just looking at the license plate. So, and any time that there's any kind of, if there was somebody in it, any of that kind of stuff, our annotating team blurs all that stuff out. So, but yeah, it's a different angle. I'm sure I can get an example of what it looks like and give you an example of kind of, you know, the angle, the difference. But certainly, the pilot is much more. I think it's only maybe 7 feet tall, right? So the whole, when it's doing a pilot, its field of view is different.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. I know you're going to get video footage to us.
Yeah, I will. I'll make sure. I'm going to get it one of these things. I'll make sure that I share it. I can just share it with you all before I leave right now, and you can go out. It's letsdrivesafer.com/Cheverly.
Okay, and can you give us either a link or send us one option of the actual system? Because I know this is not what you're trying to do, but what you just described is like bait and switch, right? So if all I see is a wide view, but you're telling me because the other camera will be higher up, I won't be able to see that, it's hard for me to be able to say that's what I'm looking at. So I think that would help us.
Sure.
To be able to see what it actually looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, and if time allows in the future, I can certainly go through a more comprehensive presentation, a little bit more about us. I think it matters, right? It's a partnership as we see it, so we certainly want all of you to be comfortable with us, just like the citizens, you know, should be comfortable with us. So, you know, whether that's maybe if there are some changes after the election, you know, I certainly can come in here and do a 30-minute presentation, but certainly let me get some examples of what it looks like from a fixed camera.
I think that'd be super helpful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
All right. Mr. Galloway, we have our special exception for 3107 Morrow Avenue.
Yeah, Mayor, before we move forward, I just wanted to make sure that we have the expectations clear on the current matter. The expectations is that we'll go to committee and we present it to the mayor and council, or is that the expectation of the mayor and council?
Well, let me see, a thumbs up from council members if we are good with having this go to our policy committee to either review or establish a policy. We've had this robust discussion. The next steps would be to have this go to policy committee to come up with some sort of draft policy regarding where these cameras go, how we use them, do we want to implement them at all? Is that okay with council? I see Councilmember Delacour is okay with that. Briner.
Will it still come to a vote, though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. The policy would be drafted, and then we still would have to have community input
Right.
regarding the policy. And depending upon how it's drafted, we may still have to have, the actual street have input with the form. So we just don't know what that will look like.
Got it.
But yeah. Councilmember Garces?
No problem.
Have we do we have like an expectation date where all this needs to be, what we're expecting for this to be up and running?
I don't think that we feasibly can, given we don't know if any of us are going to be here in a month. So I think that that's something that the administrative staff will have to take up with whoever the future policy folks are.
Okay, I'm cool with it.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, may we be excused? We've had a long day and we've got our training class starts again at 07 tomorrow morning. So.
I guess so. Now, you wore your Hawaii shirt, Chief Moore, so it looks like you were just relaxing, but I think that's fine. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.
I wish that were the case, but thank you. We just look relaxed.
Y'all have a good night. All right, Mr. Galloway?
Okay, Mayor and Council, in your packet, you should have background of 3107 Laurel Avenue. So I just want to provide a little background about 3107, the fence replacement. The property owners of 3107 Laurel Avenue have submitted a request to replace their existing 4-foot chain link fence with a 4-foot wood fence in the same location. The owners are relocating due to military orders, and they intend to complete the fence work prior to leasing the property in June. The proposed replacement fence complies with all dimensional and locational requirements under Section 8-9 of the Cheverly Town Code. As the proposed fence height does not exceed 4 feet, no Prince George's County permit is required. Historically, before I get into Cheverly, the town policy has not required a special exception where a property owner sought to replace an existing fence, whether it be the same size or of different material. However, following a recent complaint regarding a fence matter, and after consultation with the town attorney, it's been advised that we adhere to Section 8-9 G2, indicating a change in fence material, regardless of size or location, now constitutes a modification subject to the special exception process. So, Mayor and Council, upon review of the application and the circumstances of the request, I find no grounds to deny the special exceptions, the proposed wooden fence. Are there any questions right now?
Councilman Brown?
I just want to say, to make it clear for everyone, it's just because they're taking a chain link fence and making it a wooden fence. It's going to be the same size, it's going to be in the same place, but they have a time consideration here, so I would be very grateful on behalf of my residents if we could approve this special exception.
All right.
And Mayor and Council, I think this is something that I'm going to want to have a policy discussion with you all. I don't, unless you all deem it necessary, to approach the mayor and council on a 3-foot fence that, unless you all want to be made, updated or if you want to vote on every 3-foot fence. I think this is something that we can take care of internally and which will require a change in town code eventually, but we can have that discussion later. Tonight, I'm going to ask you all to approve the exception so we can move forward.
All right, Councilmember, Mr. Galloway, I don't know if I heard the initial part of the code that you read. This is out of an abundance of caution based on the last set of emails we just received regarding another complaint. Is that what you said?
Correct. Based off of section 8-9G2.
Okay. Councilmember Dalica?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we make an exception for the fence replacement at getting the address, 3107 Laurel Avenue. End of statement.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Dalica. It's been motioned.
Second.
And second, any discussion? Councilmember Watson?
Thank you, and thank you for the photographs. This is helpful. I think the answer is yes, but the neighbor fully supports this chain link fence not being here and a wooden replacement fence being there. I guess I'm referring to the neighbor in the red brick house to the right.
I don't know. Mr. Galloway, do you know if it even is on their property or?
No, it's not on the neighbor's property as far as, to my understanding. No, I don't know what the neighbor's ideas and thoughts are on the fence. I don't know.
Okay. I think we have, if the fence has fallen on an actual property line, we have asked folks to reach out to the neighbor just to make sure they're fine with it. My idea would be that they probably are more happy with a newer fence than the one that is presently there. I suspect they probably don't like this one so much. So it has been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and may the residents at 3107 Laurel Avenue have safe travels. Thank you for your service, and happy new fence while you're still in town.
Right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next matter that we have this evening is regarding the Hometown Heroes initiative that we brought to the Mayor and Council about 2 work sessions ago. Mayor and Council, just wanted to let you all know what the proposed process will be and get the approval from the Mayor and Council. The proposed process is that there be a committee of individuals that review applications as a screening process for the Hometown Heroes flags to be flown at Legion Park. Okay? Upon the review and the approval of the committee, it moves forward to the Mayor and Council at a work session similar to that of a town grant process where, we can introduce a packet to you all in advance. You can review each individual potential flag request, or we can go into detail, or whoever the chair of the committee can go into detail each individual request and why the request is being made. If it's the will of the Mayor and Council, the Mayor and Council will move forward with the approval process by putting that on the town meeting agenda for approval, and then we move forward with purchasing the flag and having the flags installed at Legion Park. Are you all opposed to that process?
Mr. Galloway, the person who first brought the idea of Hometown Heroes is present with us. Was he engaged in the development of the process?
Yes, I mean, you can have Mr. Bell come and answer any questions, but that's pretty much the process that we're proposing today.
Okay. And Mr. Bell, did you have any comments regarding the process?
I have a question. You said a flag at Legion Park. Are we just talking about just one flag?
No, he's talking about the banner.
You're talking about the banners? Oh, okay. Okay, all right. That was just, I misunderstood. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the entirety of Legion Park.
My understanding was that we would start at Legion Park with the first banner on a telephone pole and then go down Cheverly Avenue from there?
Right now, to begin this process is to start it off at Legion Park, and then as it grows, then yes, we can have the discussion of expansion. You are correct.
Okay.
Long term, it would be for Cheverly Avenue. Initially, it's for Legion Park.
All right. Suppose we get 20 people want to sign up, want to get a banner right away. What's that?
That's going to be a good problem to have. So
Okay.
we'll have to address it.
Okay.
More right then and there, yeah.
All right.
Okay. With the establishment of the committee, will they be coming up with the ancillary streets? Because Cheverly Avenue is only but so far. With like the next street over, like what it looks like. Let's assume that the whole town is excited about this project. Are we leaving that up to the committee to determine where the next street would be?
Well, no, Cheverly Avenue would be the ideal place right now because that's where we currently have flag poles at. But, let's keep in mind that, operationally, we can't go everywhere on the bucket truck installing these flags. So right now, we just need to focus in the locations where we currently have the inserts to install the flags.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
I think there's, Dave, could I count the poles? I think there's 41 or 42 poles on Cheverly Avenue.
Yeah.
So it'll be a while to get there.
Okay. All right. Councilman Watson, I saw your hand.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think there's like 6 or 8 prime locations that we would try to fill initially near Legion Park. But I think that, yeah, we've got quite a bit of, but if we ever did run out, to your point, Mayor, I think that we could come back in a year or two and figure out if there are other streets in town that are logistically candidates, but we'll get there. I think, okay, so if we adopted this policy or this concept or framework tonight, could it be in the May newsletter, Mr. Galloway? Soliciting, I don't know, applications or brief letters of interest? I mean, my concern is I don't know when. I'm concerned that when the public will be actually told that they're able to apply for their family member.
No, it won't be in the main newsletter. The main newsletter has already been submitted to the printing company. However,
June.
It can definitely be in the June newsletter. Let me speak to the communication and the administrative team on how we can be creative on sending this type of communication out to ensure that everyone knows about it.
Excellent, yeah. I'll just say, I'm fully supportive of this, and I'd like to move out on it, and, I can take responsibility for trying to find a few volunteers for the committee.
I think the goal is to try to have flags installed by the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be one of my questions, because you had mentioned that when we had a discussion earlier.
Yes.
To try and get it by the 4th of July.
Mr. Bell, do you remember, and then I'll yield the floor, I'm sorry. Was it around a 3-week turnaround for the company to print these? Ish?
Well, this is a different company than the company that my wife's family used.
All right, so fingers crossed we could get a 3 or 4 week turnaround.
Right.
We might make the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Brennan?
My apologies if I missed this, but what is the mechanism for identifying the committee that is reviewing the applications for the flags?
You didn't miss it.
Great. Then that's my question.
No, you didn't miss it. I was going to have one town staff member, i.e. myself, maybe one elected official, and then a member from the American Legion and Mr. Bell himself.
I mean, I have no issue with that, but.
Councilmember Frost.
Might I suggest also having, and not to make it too big, but somebody from the Sons of as well as from the auxiliary?
Well, I would be from the Suns.
Okay. And then maybe we could add someone from the auxiliary?
And Commander Marino has agreed to be, he'd be interested in doing it.
Okay.
And we could certainly get somebody from the auxiliary.
That would be great.
That'd be easy.
Good to have a lady.
Councilmember Gallagher.
Thank you all. I'm going to offer a dissenting opinion, I think we should kill the project. And this is a very strange thing to say when we've got folks who have given their lives or put their lives on the line for the country. Why wouldn't we want to honor them? What I am worried about is that we are putting in a public space all the way down the street. We are saying that military service is what we need to be prioritizing. And we're doing this in a time when civilian government workers have been hacked from their jobs unceremoniously, I would even say illegally. Now maybe now's the time that we really should be bolstering up our military and really should be honoring the oath that they took to uphold the Constitution, because they may be our last line of defense against furthering dictatorship. But one of the things about fascism is that they really love to venerate the military over and above other domains of service. So I feel pretty strongly we shouldn't be doing this. And I know this is an unpopular opinion. It must feel like, oh my God, why does this person not even value these folks who put their bodies in danger to protect all of us? My worry is that there's more than one kind of danger. And this is danger from within that we are facing right now. The alarm bells are going off. So I don't know if this is the right time to be doing this. If I felt like our democracy were stable, I don't think I would feel as strong. I also want to recognize that I'm going to bring something else. No, actually I won't. I think this meeting's gone on long enough. I'm willing to, this is a democracy at least lives here in this room. And so, there's plenty of other support among the council. So I'm, happy to be in the minority here and be outvoted, but I just needed to say this because we should be circumspect about what we are saying is the thing that we should be focusing on as we're driving down the main avenue of Cheverly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gallagher. I can appreciate your sentiment, but I will argue that our hometown heroes have sacrificed their lives and their service, regardless of who has been our president, our Congress. They have served, period. And that should be honored always, in my opinion. So I can appreciate your concern with that, but their contributions stand regardless of who is in position of power. I think I see a hand raised online, but I can't. It went, okay. Councilmember Briner?
I think I'm.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Councilmember Wade. Councilmember Wade?
Yeah, I just want to echo what the mayor said. More importantly, I respect your opinion. That's the beauty of democracy, Councilmember Gallagher. I understand from the more of the broad level of the country and some people's opinion regarding what's going on, but the beauty of Cheverly is that we are a unique situation where we can express our viewpoints, but also we can be the guide amongst chaos and making sure that we can have a balance of respecting individuals in different forms of fashions. Again, this is just one form of fashion, honoring our fallen individuals, but we will also honor individuals in other forms of fashion. So this is just one of many expressions in how our town can honor individuals that are part of this lovely community. So I respectfully disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion regarding it. I yield back.
Is your hand raised online?
No, she has.
Oh, okay. Are we done with council at the table?
No, because my hand is.
Okay, Councilmember Briner.
Thank you. Councilmember Gallagher, you know I love this energy. As someone who is, you know, could potentially be one of those people who have served in a different way and maybe will lose their job, I just feel like these things are not mutually exclusive. I feel nothing taken away from my service by honoring folks who have served in a different way on Cheverly Ave. And I just as I love the energy you're bringing to this meeting, I like the energy that is being brought to this project. So I just wanted to put that up.
Okay, if there's nothing with council, there's a hand raised in our online audience, and I can't see you. Okay, I believe it's Ms. Riazzi.
Thank you. Yes, it's Leila Riazzi, Ward 1. I'm actually out of state traveling and came into the meeting, and I appreciate the robust conversation, and I would just want to add my voice too. There are many ways to honor and to also point out that when we're talking about the rapid and inappropriate dismissal of civil servants, many of those civil servants are veterans. Many of those civil servants have veteran family members, and there is nothing lost in the honoring of, especially when so many military members are having various aspects of their lives disrespected. So I applaud this effort, and I think that there are opportunities, and we'll need to take advantage of opportunities to honor all those who serve in various capacities. But that doesn't mean to pull this effort back. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Anyone else? Anyone else in community? Okay. All right. Well, with that, I don't know that that needs to be an official vote, but can I get some thumbs up from council if we are fine with the process presented to us through Mr. Galloway? Yes, yes, okay. All right, Mr. Galloway, it looks like we've got consent to move forward with the way you've outlined. Mr. Bell, thank you for bringing forward this project to us, and I can't wait to see the banners. All right.
I look forward to working with you, Mr. Bell.
Okay, yep.
So, Mayor and Council, the next item that we have, a contract reviews. Director Raymond will give a brief overview of the low-impact development center, the eco site, and the engineering firm. A contract for your review. What we're going to be asking, you want to go ahead and move forward with this? These are professional services that have and will continue to assist us in various projects that have been beneficial to the town and to residents and to a lot of the projects that we've been working on. This is merely just updating the contractual language to ensure that pricing is accurate and that the terms are valid. So, Mr. Brainman, if you will.
Mr. Galloway, one second. Mr. Brainman, before you get started, I'm going to ask council for a motion because we're at 10:17, which means we have 13 minutes before we have to close out the meeting.
We started at 8.
Did we start at 8 or 7:30? This is a work session. We're just in here, but we're a work session. Yeah, so we can't go past 10:30 without a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Thank you, Councilmember Delacour.
I would like to move that we extend the meeting by 45 minutes to 11:15.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? We don't have to go the 45 minutes. We just give ourselves that much time.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? I encourage you all to talk quickly unless you want to use up all of the time. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You all are so excited about it. All right, the ayes have it. All right, Mr. Brinkman, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Town Council. Yes, tonight, Mr. Galloway did review it, actually to the detail needed, I think. The Low Impact Development Center, as you are well aware, has been working with us for many years. This has been very helpful. They're currently handling the FEMA grant that they're actually getting paid by the Clean Water Partnership on that, but we still need and you want to utilize them for various services. One note, in case you didn't know this, Emily Clifton, who I think all of you have met and has helped us before, is now the new executive director. Neil Weinstein, he retired, and so Emily is, has been promoted to that position. But this contract reads very similarly as to the last contract. There have been adjustments in prices, and so Mr. Deloach has reviewed this legal sufficiency, and the and LIDC has agreed to the terms. I sent the draft by them today. If I can just continue on, unless there's some questions on that one.
I think you're good, Mr. Brinkman. Keep going.
So EchoSite is Mr. Clark, Mike Clark, who helped us out with Crestlawn, and he's also, though, the lead on the state grant that we received for the Forest Drive erosion and stormwater study. And so that is very similar to the last contract he had. It's been reviewed as well by Mr. Deloach, and Mr. Farr has accepted that. I would want to note one thing. There's, I believe, somehow he has 2 years of pricing. The second year is approximately a 5% increase, and on the principal rate that didn't go up. And so I'd like to honor to allow that change for him to go up 5% or approximate increase from 2025 to 2026. LIDC's a 1-year contract. Mr. Farr is a 2-year contract. The next one is a little bit more detailed, and so if there's any questions on Mr. Farr and EchoSite.
I see none.
Okay. So I've been searching for a firm to help us with, or help me, us collectively with WSSC. And so Specialized Engineering did actually help us out, but their contract actually had some pretty interesting language, let me just say. And so Mr. Deloach has been good enough to work directly with them on crafting the material or crafting the contract. I believe this contract is very near to completion. And so this one would be based on Mr. Deloach deeming it to be legally sufficient. I believe there's one more paragraph to work out that Mr. Deloach will write, but I would just want to double check with him that he and I have the exact same versions that have been going back and forth between the parties. But Specialized Engineering look, I've talked to a lot of companies, and they've actually not wanted to take on this job because they didn't want to jeopardize any future business with WSSC. And so I'm hoping that this is agreeable. I will say that in the proposal, it does enumerate an amount. That amount probably will be exceeded, and so I'd ask for that to be deleted. And so, but it is still in the proposal, so we are likely going to be going over the $9,900, or I'm actually sure we're going to be going over the $9,900. We do have monies in the budget for these services, and so I'm hoping to move forward with that as soon as possible. The boring report did come in from Hillis Carnes. WSSC forwarded it to me. I'll admit I'm not sure how to interpret it myself, and so I do need to get somebody on board with some technical expertise, and specialized engineering actually was out there on some of these sites. We were hoping that this would move faster, but they did take some soil samples, and so they are in a good position to hopefully get up to speed and help us out with, hopefully rounding out, completing this, as I would say, it failed compaction and backfilling of WSSC's project.
Mr. Raymond, can you help me understand for the specialized engineering and should anyone from specialized engineering see this recording? My apologies the way this sounds. If they did not want to contract with us because they were concerned about future work with WSSC, how am I supposed to feel comfortable about the integrity of the work they provide us with?
Oh, I'm sorry, specialized engineering, they do very limited work. They never expressed any concern on taking on this project. What I tried to get at is I talked to probably 5 different companies that have passed.
I see. Okay, thank you. Great.
So I feel a bit biased.
Okay.
Don't let WSSC hear that.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, and you need us to vote on the renewal of the contracts this evening, correct?
Unless that's an administrative procedure that Mr. Galloway could move forward with, yes, given the description of what the next meeting may be like that I heard earlier tonight, I would, if you would indulge that exception, I would like all 3 of these to be approved with some of the, the last, the legal sufficiency for Mr. Deluge, and of course, with Mr. Galloway's, the authority of Mr. Galloway to execute.
All right, and Mr. Galloway, we are stating a motion to authorize you to execute and renew these contracts because of our procurement policy, correct?
Correct.
All right, is there a motion on the floor? Councilman Watson?
Sure, thank you. I will motion that the mayor and council approve the renewal of the LIDC contract, the renewal of the EcoSite contract, and empowering the town administrator to execute a contract with specialized engineering pursuant to legal sufficiency.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Thank you, Councilman, for the second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you all very much for your support.
All right, Mr. Galloway.
Great. Mayor and council, I just have a few updates for you all this evening. I'm sorry. I thought my camera was on.
He froze.
All right. Mayor and council, I just have a few updates for you this evening. Update number 1 is regarding the Kilmer Park fence entrance. First and foremost, I want to thank Dave tonight for making the connection with the town and with Dave Bowen, the Cheverly home improvement owner. Dave has indicated that he has brick masons that would like to replace the front entrance of the brick portion of the entrance of Kilmer Park. So We've sent over the waiver of liability forms for them today, and we're going to accept that donation. They're going to begin work next week, and we're excited about the entrance of Kilmer Park. Any questions or comments right now?
Thank you, Dave. Councilman Brennan?
Yes, thank you, both Daves.
The next update I have is regarding a legit grant that was awarded to the town in the amount of $4,700. This grant has been awarded for HR training for all staff. We will have an outside consultant come in and provide human resources training to the entire staff. And we look forward to receiving that grant potentially at the May Town work session from Matt Peter. This Saturday is the annual spring cleanup day. We call it the dumpster day for town residents. It will be held on Saturday between the hours of 8 a.m. and noon. Please be advised that parking will be an issue during the time of the spring cleanup due to the dumpster day and baseball games. Okay? It's our goal to have the trash containers removed shortly after noon so that parking will be accessible. For the next event will be the candidate forum. So we have a lot of events on the day of Saturday as it relates to staff. So I ask that you all let us know if you have any concerns throughout that day, but we do have a plan in place and we're going to execute the plan. Just as a reminder, through the dumpster days, we do have a medication drop-off bin and we do have a professional shredder. So if you have papers that need to be dropped off or if you have old medications that need to be disposed of, you can bring that to that location as well. Next matter is the Arbor Day location, which will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Boyd Park, 1801 64th Avenue. Mayor and Council, at the previous work session, you all gave me the authority to move forward with, town meeting, you all gave me the authority to move forward with sending a letter to the Maryland Department of the Environment regarding the air monitoring program that was submitted and completed and that has been done. That pretty much concludes my report for this evening. Do you all have any questions?
Mr. Galloway, I know that for every dumpster day, we have questions about whether or not there's a station for batteries and whether or not there's a station for paint.
No station for paint. For batteries, I'll defer to Director Bremen. Director Bremen, are you available to answer that question?
I don't believe that I've heard that to be in the plans, but let me see if we can't figure something out.
I'll add one more, Mr. Bremen, because I remember this one from last year too, light bulbs.
So generally, the old fluorescents can go into the regular trash. The compact fluorescents, we've usually deferred people to like Home Depot or Lowe's where they have a collection for them. I don't believe we're set up to take the compact fluorescent. The LEDs, I don't believe require, well, maybe I ought to check on that, but I don't think LEDs are as sensitive as fluorescents.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilman Watson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Galloway, for sending the air monitor letter. Have you provided a copy to the air monitor advocates?
No, I can definitely do that.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Councilman Brennan?
Just because a resident asked me about this today, they were asking what the timeline is for the track in Town Park to be restored to its normal size and better quality, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be at the same time as the new building opens or happen a little after the building opens? And since Mr. Bremen is here, I wanted to ask.
Right now, we're trying to time that to be concurrent with the opening of the building.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions at the table? Community? All right. With that, we'll get updates from Councilmember Fry and Garces.
Thank you, for sure. I think right about now we're just trying to, I sent out an email on behalf of me and town of Cheverly in regards to the AC, turning on the AC in the apartments. I know we've been having weather that's been 70 degrees and higher. So I got in contact with the regional property manager, Christina. She just notified me that that they will be turning it on expectedly around May 14th. That's earlier than the deadline that the county has given them. But I think that comes thanks to Mayor and Amy for putting in that work with me back when everything first started with the AC. So so they're definitely on top of it now. Just constant reminders to them that apartments units do get hot. Whether or not there's a day and night weather shift. Apartments do get hot. They reach about 80 degrees, 90 degrees. We have it on record. But they are definitely on top of it. They started preparations for the turning on the AC May 1st. They give it about 5-10 days before it's fully operating. We did notify our residents in regards to that. They responded very well on it. A lot of them actually responded, with very with so much joy, right? Because usually it will take them about a month, 3 months, right into the summer where it's burning hot. And a lot of our residents do work from home as well, so that's definitely something to look forward to in Ward 5 and 6, at least with Cheverly Station Apartments. We did push up the walk next Wednesday. I invite council members to attend to get an update on what's going on within the apartments. I think that's...
When was that? I'm sorry.
Next Wednesday, right? We moved it up to next Wednesday.
What time?
6 o'clock. We aim for 6 p.m. We meet at the visitor center, at the visitor parking lot, right next to the, Mi Pueblita bakery. But I think that's
6 or 6:30.
6:30. Let's give it take 6:30. DC traffic for me kind of. We know
you
how
think
that is.
6. Mm-hmm.
6:30.
We say 6. I'll be there probably at 6:30. Okay. 6:15ish. But yeah, I also requested for the new maintenance supervisor to make an appearance so we can get to know him as well. I know Mr. Sean has moved on to better and bigger things. He used to be overseeing the site, but not as much because now he has like a couple of properties on him. And so I definitely invited the new supervisor for maintenance to show up so we can get to meet him and just discuss expectations between us and them. And when I mean us, I mean the town of Cheverly. I think that's so far. Oh, yes. Well, should we let Mr. Galloway talk about the cameras? Because, I should, okay. Well, all right. Well, we started talks with the, with Ward 5 and Ward 6, Cheverly Station Apartments regarding the camera situation. I know we've been pushing, Raw's management to obtain cameras for our residents, and I know Mr. Galloway, Chief, and Deputy Chief, as well as the rest of town, have been in talks with them and pushing forward to obtain these cameras. I feel like we have gotten to a place in where they're really taking under consideration. Well, not really taking under consideration. They should take under consideration implementing cameras, around the apartments, right? So because we want to make sure that our residents also feel safe, even though we do have 24/7 policing. It'll be a big benefit to our community having these cameras. So they're aware of that. Mr. Galloway, I know, has been back and forth talking with them, and I feel like we're in a good spot as of right now. Not comfortable spot, but we're probably like in a good spot with these cameras.
Yeah, I think they have to have their cameras installed by June 1st, according to, they have to have their cameras installed by June 1st, according to county code for a county bill that was passed last year. So I anticipate that our code enforcement should be able to ensure that they're following the county code, since we're the ones who do permits and inspections for them.
But other than that, I mean, that's where we're at, and we're just, waiting for this election to go through, and hopefully we have a bigger turnout this year, right? That's been one thing with Ward 5, is just, people see us as a, come and go spot, but honestly, we have residents who've been there for more than 20 years. They've seen the change in Cheverly, and honestly, the fact that anybody would not take that into consideration should definitely rethink that twice. And honestly, not only a council member, town council, or whoever is up next within these seats, I ask you guys to take a walk. I'm open, call me. We'll definitely take a walk around Ward 5 and see if you see how things are in our ward. So I think that's pretty much it. Cool.
All right, thank you for that, Councilmember Garces. 15. All right. So with that, we have a review of the meeting agenda and future requests. Keep in mind that our Maytown meeting is May 8th. Mr. Galloway, is that the swear? That's our swearing-in day. None of us know if we will actually be here, but we can go ahead and still have
the budget.
We don't have another budget meeting in between then. Is it next Thursday? So that's the first?
Yes.
First, all right. So we have budget May 1st and then swearing in May 8th. So in between there, is there something else that folks want to see on the agenda? Councilmember Bynum.
A few things I have on my running list. Bike trails. I think we've been waiting for an update for that for a little while. There is a Heritage Month in May, and I'm blanking on which one it is, but it'll need a proclamation.
APAM.
APAM, sorry. And I guess stop sign cameras, we'll just have to see where we are. If there's a proposal to look at, probably May work session, maybe.
The proposal to go to the committee?
The committee having a rough outline to bring to council to talk through.
By the work session?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's ambitious.
It is.
I mean, it depends on some things.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. If nothing further, Councilmember Garces, did you have something?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. All right. Listen, we're at 10:40. Is there a motion on the floor? Councilmember Gallagher, is your hand raised? Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I do have discussion. This is Councilmember Gallagher. This will be your last work session. And so I want to give you a hand of applause. We thank you very much for all that you've done.
Thank you very much.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. You all have a good night.
Good night.